Welcome into the Steelers Talk live show presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, JAC. We got a bunch of great stuff to talk about surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just over a week before we get things going in Latrobe for Steelers training camp this year. First up on the show today, we're going to be breaking down the latest news and rumors. And really the highlight of that news and rumors segment, guys, I'm going to be breaking down a new article breaking down 4 new Steelers trade targets that we've never discussed on this channel all offseason. Some very interesting names thrown around that we'll talk about in our first segment today. Then we'll get into some last-minute free agency targets here. I got 4 different positions that the Steelers can target over the next week or so, and then talk about the best players at those positions to try and make this Steelers roster that much better heading into Latrobe. Then we'll get into our spotlight on the Steelers defense. I'm going to be explaining why the Pittsburgh Steelers defense could become elite and maybe even the best in the NFL this year. And then our Madden simulated season continues today with our Week 14 Madden Sim Monday Night Football versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I want to see who are the real ones down there in the comment section. Who's here at the top of the show? Spam those me's in the chat if you're a real one and you've already liked the stream. We got 100 people watching live right now with 21 people that have already clicked that thumbs up icon. I see Damian Roy in here, JT Clover, Eric Dexter's here. Good to see you, Eric. We got Chuck Dugan. We've got Steve Stockman. We got Steelers fan. The Only Key. Ladome is here as usual. Czar Craig is here as usual. My wife Cassie Sperry is in the chat. Everyone say hi to Cassie. We got John. We got Jack Hay, Keith, Joe, Steele, Buckeye. We've got Roman. Christopher Domingo's here. My mom is here. Everyone say hello to my mother. We've got Michael. We got Steelers fan 94, Rodrigo. Christopher Domingo's here. Fernando Martin is here. We've got Lee Goddard. Robert Kirkpatrick is here as always. Lee Goddard is here. Gen 05. Steel, Buckeyes. We've got Robert Kirkpatrick, Gen 05 again. Chuck Dugan. Got a good crew of Steelers fans ready to talk some ball. And if you guys, as always, want to get your topic on screen here, you guys want to get your comment on screen, you guys can super chat any dollar amount. I don't really care the amount, guys. $2, $5, $10, $20. Doesn't matter to me, guys. If you have a question or a comment or a topic that you want me to discuss and answer, I'm happy to bring those up on screen. And we do have a donation menu here today, guys. Any donation you get on screen. Doesn't matter the amount. But $10, we will get the terrible towels out, and we will do some Here We Go Steelers chants. $20, get your name on the Steelers Talk gong. Still some room left on the gong for some Steelers fans on there. And then $50 will bang for you guys here on camera. Pause. All right. And then if you guys want to skip the line, you guys want your question answered first, you guys can send in your donations via Venmo or PayPal. You can find me at Jack-Berry on Venmo or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. The reason why we appreciate Venmo and PayPal donations, guys, is because YouTube takes a 30% cut of all the super chats you guys send in, and then Apple takes another 10%. So 40% of the money that you're sending in here to Steelers Talk on our live shows isn't going to us, right? Unless you send it to Venmo and PayPal, that would greatly help us out. So because of that, we're going to answer those questions first if you want to send in your donations via those avenues. Now, before we get into your super chats, before we get into the Steelers content today, I want to tell you about a presenting sponsor here on Steelers Talk Live, which, as always, is Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. The World Cup is starting to wind down, and there's no better place to cash in on the international soccer action than with our friends at Prize Picks. The app is super easy to use. You just pick more than or less than on a few player stat projections and then lock in your lineup. And if soccer really isn't your thing, Prize Picks has a number of other sports to choose from, like baseball and more, to enhance your sports viewing experience this summer. A particular projection that I'm looking forward to using here in my Prize Picks lineup here, guys, is I'm taking the more on rushing touchdowns for Rico Dowdle coming up here. I just think that he's going to be that guy getting the goal line carries and getting those touchdowns, kind of similar to what Najee Harris was doing here a couple of years ago. Last year he had 6 touchdowns. I think he gets the more on the 4.5 projected rushing touchdowns that Prize Picks currently gives them. So you can combine this with a season-long projection, something like this. Take the more on Aaron Rodgers' passing yards, take the more on Rico Dowdle's rushing touchdowns, and then take the less on passing touchdowns for Lamar Jackson because F the Ravens. So if you guys want to get in on this action here, it's a 6 times multiplier. So if you guys put in a $20 entry fee, you guys can walk away with $120 from our friends on PrizePicks, and what PrizePicks calls a power play. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in additional lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup. You get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk Live. And today we are joined by special guest producer, Captain Cully is back on the show. Cully, we haven't seen you since you were our producer for the Big Night Odds a couple last offseason when we thought Aaron Rodgers was going to come out of the woodwork and announce he was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Of course, he eventually did sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but not at the Big Night Odd. But it's good to see your face, my friend. And by the way, guys, Cully is also our Jaguars channel host here at Chat Sports. So it's perfect because guess what? We're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in our Madden simulated season. So Cully, welcome to the show. Welcome back.
First of all, Jack, thank you for having me, and pleasure to see your face as well. It's funny that we're wearing black, just not in the tank variety as we were last time.
Yes, that's right. We were wearing the tank tops. I forgot about that. That was good stuff.
It was good stuff.
It's good stuff. But I think we got a lot of good stuff in store here, guys. Coley really knows his stuff, so I'm sure he'll be chiming in on any football questions that you have for us here all throughout the show. So we're going to start off here with our first super chats of the day, starting with the Only Key. That's a sick profile pic there, the Only Key. Of course, I don't know if you saw this, Captain Coley, but Aaron Rodgers was with the rest of the boys on the Steelers roster. They went to a dude ranch over the weekend, and that is DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers smoking some cigarettes and some cowboy attire. So that's pretty sick, dude. I got to say, man, the aura of this offense and the players on it is starting to rise after that photo shoot yesterday. But big shout out to the Only Key, $2 super chat. Love that picture there, my friend. Then we got a $10 super chat here from Devone.
It literally just skipped. It was Roman who said, let me pull this up. Of course it does it like right as I press it. He says, been watching for a few months now. Just wanted to say keep up the great content. Smiley face.
Appreciate you, my friend. Roman Tidwell with a $10 super chat. There it is. Thank you so much, Roman, for the 10. You are absolutely awesome. You know what that means, Coley. $10 super chat. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Shout out to Roman Tidwell with the $10 super chat, and Coley's been waiting to do that all day, so shout out to Roman for getting us going here this afternoon. So, Coley, we do have a little bit of a poll going on. Should the Steelers make a signing before the start of training camp next week? 80% of Steelers fans that have watched so far, with 87 voters, have said yes to that question. The question is, who should they sign? I think that we're going to go over, some free agency targets later in the show here, but I think safety makes sense. I think linebacker could make some sense. Hell, if Jeremy Bernard and Roman Wilson can't get on the same page with Aaron Rodgers, we know Rodgers prefers veteran receivers. There's still some pretty good veteran receivers still out there. So I still think it's possible that we could see the Steelers make a signing of some variety here, if not before training camp, then sometime during training camp in the preseason. But yeah, I think that this Steelers roster is probably the best overall since I've started working here. Captain Cully, yep. Is there anywhere on this roster that you think they could maybe add a piece?
I mean, you could always sit there and look at, receivers always an option. You can never have too many weapons, right, in the National Football League. You can always use another edge rusher, feels like, with the way edge rushers kind of get passed through as the season goes on. I'll say this. It's one of those things where I think teams, for the most part, are going to wait until they get into training camp just to see kind of where things stack. I mean, you obviously had OTA periods, but you don't get the full-on, team experience because obviously, like, the offensive linemen aren't really blocking each other versus the defensive linemen. No pads, no nothing. So I think they're going to see what they look like to begin training camp before they actually do make a move for not just the Steelers, but a lot of different teams. I do think, though, if you're always willing to load up and go for a final hurrah, such as kind of the Steelers are with Aaron Rodgers this season, I wouldn't necessarily hate them going after a free agent target. Who that might be, you can debate. But yeah, I still think there's a lot of great names out there as we sit here. God, July 13th. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, next week, Steelers training camp is officially opening here, so definitely excited for that. Definitely. So here's where I'm at here. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Just so you guys know, I will be in Latrobe for the first week of training camp practices. I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that first slate of practices. So if you guys want to come say hi, you guys want to take a picture, whatever, that's when I'll be in Latrobe this year. I'll also be providing my latest reporting and everything that I see going on at Steelers training camp practices those first 4 days. Now, those won't be padded practices, just so you know. The first week of practices is reinstalling the playbook, making sure everyone's on the same page before the pads go on. But I think we'll definitely get a lot of really good insights from Latrobe here in just a few short weeks. But then Bernard comes in with a 2, says, "Did you see Aaron Rodgers' last rodeo?" Yeah, that was the caption that he put with all those pictures at the Dude Ranch with the boys. And I think we already knew that. He already said at his press conference, his opening press conference here in Pittsburgh, "Yep, this is it. This is going to be my last season." So obviously the last rodeo is kind of the play on words there. No, that's definitely nothing new there, Bernard. Then we got our first Venmo of the day, Mr. Dane P. coming in with a $1 Venmo. Let me get you up here, Dane. He says, "First time super chat, Jack, you're the GOAT. Do you think the Steelers are gassing up Will Howard to get better trade value out of him?" I don't necessarily think so. I think that they do like him, but they do want to see what he does with live bullets, and they want to, see how much trust that he can develop over the course of this preseason to see if he can be their QB2. Because here's the thing, man. The Steelers are going into a win-now season, so they're not going to go into the year with a QB2 that they don't trust to play in games, all right? And they already know that Mason Rudolph, you can trust him to come in as a solid backup. He's very limited, but, he's a solid backup. But if Will Howard can get to that point or further, based on how he plays in training camp, based on how he plays in the preseason games, I expect him to get a lot of run on both of those kind of environments. If he can play well, I think Will Howard could actually be this team's QB2 this year. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Mason Rudolph's going to make this team. Now, obviously, if Howard struggles in the preseason games and in the practices and all this different stuff, the Steelers aren't just going to play, go into the season with Will Howard as their QB2 no matter what. Mason Rudolph certainly has a chance to make this team and be this team's QB2 for the season, but it's going to come down to how Will Howard plays in training camp, in my opinion. Guess we'll just see how that all plays out for him. $5 here from my man, Justin Yankuski. He says, "What's up, Jack? I've missed the show, but hopefully back in full swing." Again, yep, we are back in full swing here, Justin. We will be going live 3 times a week now, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, all throughout the season. So lots of live content coming your way this season. All right, Captain Cully, as those super chats, those Venmos, all those things start coming in, let's get into our first segment here, guys, which is the latest Steelers news and rumors. Later up in the show here, guys, we're going to have the last-minute free agency targets for you guys right before training camp. We'll also get into how Pittsburgh's defense can become elite. And then Week 14 Madden simulation versus the Jacksonville Jaguars is coming up here at the end of the show, guys. I'm really looking forward to going to Latrobe here in a couple of weeks in the last week of July. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So, again, I'll be there during the first week. So make sure you guys book your tickets for that first week of practices so you guys can chop it up with me, talk some Steelers football. I love meeting you guys. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment of the day, which is the latest Steelers news and rumors. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Tonight on the show, we're going to start off with a new article which proposes 4 new Steelers trade ideas and 4 players that I have never talked about as potential trade opportunities for the Pittsburgh Steelers all offseason long. Brand new trade targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers to kick us off today. Then we'll get into Aaron Rodgers, who kicked off his quote-unquote last rodeo at a dude ranch with a bunch of Steelers players. Going to be breaking down who went, who was maybe excluded, and what that might say about this year's Pittsburgh Steelers team. Now let's get into this article here from Athlon Sports' Job Morrison, who proposed 4 new trade targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this article. Very interesting article article written by Job here, in my opinion, because these are 4 players that I hadn't really considered up until I saw this article. So the first trade target that he brings up here is Walker Little, the offensive tackle from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's been in Jacksonville his entire career, and he's got a little bit of a cap hit here, and it seems like he's going to be in a little bit of a camp battle this year, is what Morrison had to say in his article. With Broderick Jones's return timeline unclear, the Steelers may need to add depth at tackle. Walker Little has managed left tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he now faces a challenger in Cole Van Lanen. Speculation suggests that Jaguars are prepared to move on from Little given his $14 million cap hit, especially since he looks like the underdog for the left tackle job as it stands right now. Khan could work out a deal involving a day 3 pick, with Jacksonville eating half of Little's cap hit for this season. So we can take a look here at Walker Little, what his profile kind of looks like here. 27 years old. He's got 2 years left on his current contract, and last year he ranked 58th out of 84 eligible offensive tackles, according to Pro Football Focus. Depending on how much weight you put into Pro Football Focus grading, that's obviously in the bottom half of starting tackles last year. And frankly, he hasn't been a terrific grader if you want to put a lot of stock into Pro Football Focus grading. He had that pretty darn good season in 2024, but then, he kind of regressed to where he was his rookie season and his sophomore campaign last year, which might be why the Jacksonville Jaguars might be thinking about maybe making a long-term change at the left tackle position. But personally, I'm definitely passing on this idea. If I am the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm not that interested in trading for Walker Little, especially because I think Dylan Cook, already sets a pretty high floor at right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's played more right tackle than Walker Little has. So I think Dylan Cook, if you're looking for somebody to play right tackle while Max Ahanicher kind of develops behind the scenes, I think Cook gives this team a better chance. I mean, just last year, Dylan Cook ranked in the top 20 of eligible offensive tackles in the league in Pro Football Focus grading. And obviously that was on the left side, not the right, but Cook has experience playing on both sides. And I think, Cook certainly brings that veteran presence that if Max Ahanicher's not ready to go, Dylan Cook's going to be able to hold down the fort until Ahanicher is ready to go. But honestly, man, I think Pittsburgh's offensive tackle situation is pretty solid right now. Troy Fautano, we already know, is making the full-time move over to left tackle. Ahanicher is the long-term future at the right tackle position, and Dylan Cook is on the last year of his current deal, but he's a floor raiser. He's going to be able to get the job done if Ahanicher isn't ready to go. So honestly, I don't think tackle is that big of a need for Pittsburgh right now. And then also Broderick Jones, we don't know if he's going to be ready to go or not, but we'll see what ends up happening with Broderick as a potential swing tackle option this year. Now make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you think Max Ahanicher is going to be the real deal at the right tackle position. I know I think that, with James Campen in charge of his development and his incredible athletic profile. But let me know what you guys think down there by clicking that thumbs up icon if you believe in Mad Max. But before we get into the rest of the trade targets here on today's edition of Steelers Talk, I want to tell you about a presenting sponsor here at Prize Picks, and specifically a projection on the person that this offensive line is going to be protecting this year in Aaron Rodgers this season. I am taking the more on passing touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. Right now, Prize Picks sets Aaron Rodgers' passing touchdowns number at just 20.5. He had more than that just last year, and that was with a far worse offensive scheme fit, in my opinion, as well as a worse offensive weaponry. So I definitely think if Rodgers can stay relatively healthy, he will get the more there on the 20.5 passing touchdowns. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So the second trade target that Joe Morrison lists in his article here is Damar Hamlin, Pittsburgh native and Pitt Panther. This is what he had to say about potentially adding Hamlin to the Steelers roster. The Steelers already have their head coach and a 7th-round draft pick enjoying a homecoming this year. Why not add another? Hamlin would also address a potential need at free safety, though this move would likely come later in training camp or in the preseason. The Steelers like some of their younger talent at free safety, but if camp or preseason performances change that outlook, Hamlin could become available at a reasonable price. It wouldn't be a game-changing move, but it would bring in a veteran to shore up the position. Now, Hamlin, 28 years old, Pittsburgh native that also played for the Pitt Panthers, so it would be another homecoming for, add that to the list of Mike McCarthy and Jaquan Brisker and Eli Heidenreich, all these people that are from Pittsburgh to be joining this team. Now, his Pro Football Focus grading over the last several years has not been great. Last year, just at 42.8. He's a backup level safety. He's not a full-time starter. But personally, man, I wouldn't, mind trading like a conditional 7th or something like that for Damar Hamlin. I think that it's got to be the right price and the right draft pick. Like, you don't want to overpay for a guy like Damar Hamlin, but I do think that safety, especially that first line of defense at safety this year, it's a bit thin because I just don't think Darnell Savage is that good of a player, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, and I would rather take Damar Hamlin over Darnell Savage any day of the week. So for me, guys, if you end up trading like a 7th round pick or a conditional pick or something like that for Damar Hamlin to shore up that first line of defense in the safety room, I would be okay with that move if the Steelers ended up making something of this opportunity. But then the third trade target that Morrison breaks down here is Blake Fisher, a former 2nd round pick out of Notre Dame, an offensive tackle for the Houston Texans. So what Morrison had to say about potentially targeting Fisher in a trade. Fisher has fallen out of favor with the Texans. If the Steelers are more concerned about depth at right tackle than left, Fisher could be another candidate for Khan to call about. A former 2nd round pick, Fisher could benefit from a fresh start. The Steelers brought in longtime offensive line coach James Campen this offseason, and adding a talent like Fisher could benefit both sides. Fisher would get a fresh start, and the Steelers would get a depth piece at a current question mark on the roster. Now, Fisher is pretty young still, 23 years old, massive human being. As you mentioned, former 2nd round pick here out of Notre Dame in 2024, and last year actually ranked inside the top 30 among offensive tackles in this league, according to Pro Football Focus grading. So Fisher, especially if he is on the outs there in Houston, could be a legitimate trade candidate for the Houston Texans if a team needs right tackle help, on potential long-term right tackle help. But once again, I'm just going to push back on the idea that the Steelers would actually trade for an offensive tackle at this point, particularly another one here that's a younger guy that might be a long-term option, because I think that the Steelers already have their long-term futures at the offensive tackle positions already figured out, right? Troy Fautano is going to be your starting left tackle for the future. This team clearly wants Max Ihanicher to be their starting right tackle of the future. So trading another, probably decent draft pick for a guy like Blake Fisher just to be a 1-year stopgap and then, see what happens after that. I just don't know if I like that plan, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think this year you got your floor raiser in Dylan Cook, who's perfectly fine. And then if Max Ihanicher can beat him out in camp and in the preseason, that's even better, right? Because that guy is your future for this particular position. Then the final trade target that Morrison talks about in his article here is linebacker from the Denver Broncos, Drew Sanders, who had a foot injury last year, didn't play at all during the 2025 season. This is what Morrison had to say about potentially going out and getting the physically talented off-ball linebacker. Malik Harrison carries a considerable cap hit and sits on the roster bubble. If the Steelers want an upgrade with more upside, Sanders fits the bill. The athletic standout out of Arkansas has been buried on a stacked Denver Broncos defensive depth chart. Sanders can play Mike linebacker and has cross-trained at edge, and he has also carved out a role as a strong special teams contributor. He'd likely cost more. The Steelers might need to offer a 4th round pick to get a deal done. Still, landing a player like Sanders for roughly half of Harrison's cap hit could make it worthwhile. Now, Sanders, another guy that is still on the younger side here, 25 years old. He was a 3rd round pick to Denver in 2023 out of Arkansas, and he did not play last year because he had a serious foot injury that he suffered in training camp, and that took him out for the entirety of the season. So definitely a big question mark there. Is he even going to be the same athlete as he was before the injury? Personally, I just don't see this one happening either, especially for the price tag that Joe brings up here, a 4th round draft pick. I think right now the linebacking room is fine. All right, it's not the strength of the Steelers roster or anything like that, but I do think that, Patrick Queen, I think, with a new defensive scheme coming in here, could elevate his game, something close to what it was in Baltimore, which was a very solid starting linebacker. Peyton Wilson, I'm hoping, can take a big step forward here with getting out of Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin's scheme, which I think has put linebackers in tough positions for a long time now. Cole Holcomb is grossly underrated. Malik Harrison's a pretty decent 4th option. He's an awesome special teams contributor. So, looking at this room and looking at the potential quote-unquote need here, I think the price tag is too much for what the need actually is at the linebacker position here in Pittsburgh. It's too rich. Drew Sanders is an interesting player, but I just don't think that the price tag and the juice is worth the squeeze here if you're the black and gold. And if you really want to add another linebacker here and you want to get you want to get rid of Malik Harrison and his cap hit, I would just bring in Landon Roberts, who's like on the open market right now for free. You could get him for the vet minimum, and you could just get rid of Malik Harrison. You get a better version of Malik Harrison in Landon Roberts, only for cheaper, and he's got active chemistry with Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson. He was in this defense just 2 years ago, and guess who he played for last year? New defensive coordinator Patrick Graham in Las Vegas, so he's got that connection as well. So I think if you want to bring in a linebacker, you don't trade a 4th-round pick for Drew Sanders. You probably just go to the free agency market and bring back E-Rob. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for the question of the day. Would you trade a 4th-round pick next year in exchange for Drew Sanders? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Type A for accept or D for decline. That is a 2027 4th-round pick, by the way. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And we'll finish up today's show here with Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of his Steelers teammates, namely Michael Pittman Jr., Ben Skoranek, Roman Wilson, Mason Rudolph, DK Metcalf, and Pat Freiermuth. We all went to a dude ranch over the weekend for a nice weekend together, what Rodgers called a bonding weekend. And I'd be pretty sure that they also worked out as well. Now, they didn't post any photos of them working out or anything like that, but I'm sure there was some sort of practice field out there, and they got their work in. And, it was probably a really productive weekend, as well as, having some fun. It looked like they were riding horses and all that different stuff that Cowboys do. So definitely seemed like a good time for a lot of the members of the Steelers offense. Now, something that I will kind of bring up that is of note is that there's certain people here that were not included on the trip. Now, I want to say before, we really go into it here that, it is possible that, Will Howard, Jeremy Bernard, Darnell Washington, they just had other plans. They had other things going on. They were invited and they just didn't make the trip. But I do think it's noteworthy here that Howard was not at the trip, whereas Mason Rudolph was. Jeremy Bernard was not at the trip, but Roman Wilson was. And then Darnell Washington was not at the trip, and Pat Freiermuth, again, was. So I'm not saying that necessarily means anything here, guys. I'm probably reading a little bit too much into it there. I'm sure they probably just had some scheduling conflicts or whatever, and they couldn't make it. But I do think it's worth bringing up here because, I think that says a little something here. But that's going to be it for today's edition of Steelers News and Rumors. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. If you guys want more news and rumors updates on the black and gold every single day leading up to Steelers training camp here in just a few short weeks, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right. All right, we got some super chats here to catch up on. We got Rumple My Stiltskins. Very nice name there, my friend. $5 says, how many of the 2026 Steelers draft class do you think will make the team? It's a good question. Steelers drafted, 10? It's either 9 or 10. I can't remember the exact number of players. But we can just go through the list here. Obviously, Max Honicher making the team. You've got Jeremy Bernard making the team. Drew Aller making the team. Dalen Everett going to make the team. Jennings Dunker making the team. Then you get Caden Legion, definitely going to make the team, right? Then you've got Reilly Nowakowski going to make the team, right? So the question is, between kind of the later round selections, who's going to make it, who's not going to make it, okay? And, between Robert Spears-Jennings, Gabriel Rubio, Eli Heidenreich, those are later round draft selections, and they will have a little bit of an uphill battle, I do think. So, maybe one of those guys ends up making the roster. Maybe two of them do. We'll just have to see what those guys are able to do in camp and in the preseason. They're going to have opportunities as draft picks to make this team contribute on special teams in particular. But, I think for sure, the first 5-round picks are going to for sure make the team. And it's, when it comes to the 6th and 7th round guys, it really comes down to how well they play in the trope and in the preseason. Then we got, what is this currency here?
I'm assuming this is Mexican pesos.
Mexican pesos, 50 peso super chat here from Soto. Appreciate you, my friend. Says, I have never super chatted before, but I wanted to let you guys know the appreciation I have for your work. By the way, 50 Mexican pesos is around $2. All right, cool. I appreciate you, Soto. Thank you so much for the donation. And thank you for supporting the show. $5 from Mexamander says, how would you feel if the Steelers signed Baker Mayfield next year in free agency? So here's the thing, Captain Coley. I think Baker Mayfield is a very much like win-now quarterback that's going to be demanding a lot of money next year unless he completely falls off a cliff in Tampa this year. He's going to make $40+ million a season. The Steelers currently have like less than $3 million in allocated cap space for next year. So you're going to have to make a lot of subtractions to your roster. You probably got to trade TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. You got to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. You got to get rid of all these players just to afford Baker Mayfield. And after you get rid of all of your veteran talent, I don't think it's worth bringing in Baker Mayfield because the team is no longer a win-now option for Baker Mayfield to choose. So I got to be honest, Mexamander, I don't see a lot of worlds here where Baker Mayfield becomes the Steelers starting quarterback next year. I think by far and away the most likely scenario for Pittsburgh is that they have a cheap starting quarterback again next year. Whether that's one of the younger options that are currently on rookie contracts, currently on their rookie deals, like Drew Aller or Will Howard, whether that's drafting a quarterback early next year and playing him, whether that's bringing in a cheaper veteran QB of some variety. I don't know who that crop's going to be by this time next year, Cully, but someone of the Geno Smith variety or something like to be a bridge, right? Something like that. I don't see the Steelers having the disposable income and cap space to go out and get a guy like Baker Mayfield, who is a good quarterback. It's just, I don't think it's worth going out and paying him what you'd need to pay him because of the players you would have to get rid of.
No doubt about it. I think Baker, if you had to, put him in a vacuum, he's the 16th best quarterback, give or take a few spots depending on where you want to rank him. I think he's a talented guy that's obviously won a lot of games in this league. He's been to the postseason. Is it worth necessarily kind of quote unquote kind of mini blowing up your roster to go great for him? To me, that shouldn't be in the best interest of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've kind of done this thing, right? Like it's been a while since they've drafted a guy since Kenny Pickett, right? Where they've drafted and tried to develop a quarterback. It feels like it's time. Now it could be maybe they've drafted one already in Will Howard and or Drew Aller, and maybe they go that direction next offseason. But I would think it'd be more likely they would draft one in 2027 versus going out and trying to acquire a Baker Mayfield or another high level quarterback that could be out on the market somewhere.
But here's the thing with that. I don't know if Mike McCarthy's the type of guy to draft a QB and then just play him right away.
Maybe not, but that's why you have Howard and Aller too.
So you're drafting a quarterback in round one, and then you're playing another potential long-term option. I mean, you could. Or would it be better to bring in like a true veteran for that rookie quarterback to really learn behind?
At that point,
because at that point, Drew Aller, Will Howard are still learning.
They are, but Will Howard. So after this season, he'll go into next year. What'll that be? Year 3.
Year 3 for Howard. Year 2 for Aller.
Year 2 for Aller. So you could maybe bring in a guy to potentially kind of be the, elder
mentor,
statesman.
even though they've never played.
Exactly.
Because Rodgers will be playing this year.
Exactly.
So I don't know if I love that.
Wood. Maybe. It's a lot of different things can happen in the span of a calendar year. 100%. So obviously, we'll have to wait and see kind of how the landscape kind of shakes itself out. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers go young at quarterback next year.
Yeah, I think I'm almost certain that that's what they're going to do. Outside of we're going to draft a quarterback round 1, and then we're going to bring in a bridge type of guy, whoever that ends up being. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But I think what they're trying to do, Coley, what they're setting up is they're going to, or at least they want, one of Will Howard or Drew Aller to be able to be the guy in 2027. Because you think about one of the bigger positives of bringing back Aaron Rodgers, it's the mentorship. Mm-hmm. He's the world's leading expert in how to play quarterback for a Mike McCarthy offense. And who are the two guys getting the benefit of having that mentorship? It's Will Howard and Drew Aller. It's not next year's first-round draft pick or potential first-round draft pick, right? So if you draft a quarterback next year, he doesn't get the Aaron Rodgers mentorship that Drew Aller and Will Howard are going to be getting this year, and that Howard had last year as well. So I think what they're going to be trying to do, develop those guys behind the scenes, and then maybe Howard wins the QB2 job and Aaron Rodgers gets hurt for a certain period of time this year, and then Howard goes in and plays well. Mm-hmm. Then maybe Howard gets that chance to be QB1 next year. Or maybe he does get that chance to play and he doesn't play particularly well. And then Aller is impressing behind the scenes, and they're like, okay, let's give Drew Aller the chance next year. And I think that's a big-time gamble, especially if the Steelers are going to continue to have this kind of quote-unquote win-now posture. But I just don't see any feasible way to pay big money for a quarterback and keep this roster intact,
Right.
which is what I think the Steelers are going to want to do. So I actually think right now the betting favorite to be this team's week 1 starting quarterback next year in 2027 is Drew Aller. But obviously, like you mentioned, there's so many variables and so many things that could happen this year that could change that equation. So definitely an interesting situation here, guys. Just a reminder that any donation gets you on screen. $10 donations. We'll get the terrible towel out for, here we go, Steelers. $20 donations. We'll put your name on the Steelers Talk gong. $50 we'll bang for you right here on the channel. Pause. And if you guys want to get your question at the top of the list here, get your question answered first, you guys can send in your donations via Venmo and PayPal at Jack-Berry or at Captain Jackrabbit on PayPal. All right, man. Let's get into our second segment of the day. We just talked about trade targets, Captain Coley. Now it's time to get into the free agency market. Who are some players that are currently available that the Steelers don't have to trade draft capital for to go get and add to this roster to make it better heading into the year? Let's answer that question right now. Could the Pittsburgh Steelers and their GM Omar Khan be planning a last-minute signing before the start of training camp here in just a few short weeks? Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and on today's edition of the show, I'm going to be breaking down my updated list of last-minute free agency targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers before the start of camp, which will kick off in the last week of July here, which is coming up very, very shortly. And if you guys want my instant reactions to every single piece of Steelers breaking news all throughout the 2026 season, injury updates, any trades that happen before the deadline, any signings that the Steelers make, I give my initial reaction actually on my X account before I put the video out here on YouTube. So if you guys want to give me a follow, you can follow me at Jack_Sperry on X. That's also where I put my weekly film study for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you guys want to, see what the Steelers are doing schematically, week in and week out, what's working, what's not working, I put it out there on my X account. So if you guys want additional Steelers content from me on that social media platform, you can follow me at Jack_Sperry. So we're going to be talking about 3 positional targets here that the Steelers could add a player before the start of training camp here. We're going to talk about inside linebacker, safety, and right guard. And we'll start the discussion here on the defensive side of the ball with the inside linebacker position, because I think this is a position that is a ginormous X factor for this defense this year. And it could be the difference between this being a good defense or a great or an elite unit heading into the 2026 season, all right? And you got this rotation going on right now, and there's a lot of question marks in this group, but I definitely think Pittsburgh could use another depth piece. Patrick Queen is a solid player, especially if he's in a good defensive scheme, but he's not anything great. Peyton Wilson, I think, has the most upside here, but he's unproven. Cole Holcomb is a good floor setter, but he's never healthy. Malik Harrison's a good run defender, but he can't guard anybody in pass coverage. So lots of question marks in this group, and I think if Pittsburgh wanted to bring in another kind of depth piece to compete and provide this team some depth and some insurance, I think that would be perfectly fine. I think that there's some decent options out there at the linebacker position. Nothing that's going to knock your socks off or anything like that. But Landon Roberts is still out there. We know him, and Steelers fans wanted to keep him last offseason. He ends up going to Las Vegas, and now he's still a free agent waiting to sign with the team. Bobby Okereke has been a good starter in this league for a while. Took a big step backwards last year in New York. Might be looking for a place to have a bounce-back season. Josie Jewell bounced around Denver and Carolina, some other places. Jermaine Pratt went to multiple spots last year, started in Vegas, and then he's bounced around a bunch of different spots. And Denzel Perriman has also played for Patrick Graham in Las Vegas before, so there's some connection there between player and DC. But personally, I would just happily bring back a Landon Roberts. I mean, the Steelers should have brought him back last offseason instead of bringing in Malik Harrison, in my opinion. I think he's still a better run defender than Harrison is. He's a better version of what Harrison is, which is just, a big-bodied linebacker that gets off blocks, gets after it in the run game, and he's terrible in pass defense, right? If we're going to have that brand of linebacker on this team, why not go get Landon Roberts, who's a better version of that than Malik Harrison is? And not to mention, you could get rid of Harrison, cut him, and save that additional cap space for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I think that this makes a lot of sense. He's got chemistry with the players in this linebacker room already. He was here when Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson were here 2 years ago. I just think that this makes a ton of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they're going to get a linebacker, my pick would be a Landon Roberts. Now, before we get into the rest of my list here today, I want to tell you about a presenting sponsor here at Prize Picks, and I want to specifically tell you about a season-long projection for a big piece of the Steelers defense that you guys should be putting in your season-long lineups, which is to take the more on sacks for DB Jalen Ramsey. He's going to be playing that big nickel position, as we've talked about all throughout the offseason here. And last year, he actually had more sacks than that, quarter of a sack metric that Prize Picks is currently projecting him at. And I think that he is absolutely somebody that is capable of putting up 2, 3, maybe even 4 sacks with his ability to get after the quarterback from the slot alignment. So I think that this projection you got to put in your season-long lineups, guys. If you guys want to get in on the fun, you can download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So now let's dive into the safety position here, guys. And honestly, this one might be the most dire of the situations we're going to be talking about on today's show. And the reason why it's dire is not necessarily because you need a starter, right? I think that right now, Shawn Elliott, Jaquan Brisker, that's fine. That's a very solid starting safety duo. My issue, though, is the depth, okay? The depth is not what I want to see at this particular position, because it really leaves this team vulnerable to having a major weakness on this defense if just one of Shawn Elliott or Jaquan Brisker gets hurt. And I don't like that. I would like to have an option that I trust to play in NFL games behind those two to be able to play in case there's an injury at the safety position this year. And you might be saying, but Jack, Jalen Ramsey can play safety, right? And sure, Ramsey can play safety. He was fine there last year. But last year, we certainly saw Jalen Ramsey play there, and he wasn't nearly as good as when he was playing at the nickel position earlier in the season. So I think he's way more valuable at nickel. If he has to play free safety, he has to play deep, he just can't be as much of an impact against the run. He can't be as much of an impact as a blitzer. All these different things. I think putting him closer to the line of scrimmage and closer to the box is where he can really be an impact for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So I want to keep Jalen Ramsey there as long as he's healthy as much as I possibly can. And if Ramsey ends up getting hurt, and if Pittsburgh wants to continue playing that kind of too high safety base defense where you got a big nickel defender to kind of replace the strong safety in the run fit, you're going to have to move either Shawn Elliott or Jaquan Brisker to that spot, because the Steelers don't have anybody, maybe outside of Dalen Everett. Maybe Dalen Everett could do it, but Brandon Echols is not getting that job done, okay? He's just not. So I think that having that legit backup safety is a must. And maybe the Steelers' solution to that is Dalen Everett. And maybe Dalen Everett is ready to take on that backup role. And if that's the case, I'm all for it, all right? But right now they have him listed as a corner. So Pittsburgh doesn't have, a good, solid backup safety option that's listed as a safety, right? And, you might be looking at Darnell Savage. I just have zero trust in Savage to be a good football player at this stage of his career. He's always injured. When he's on the field, he's absolutely getting toasted. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Savage. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I hope he proves me wrong, but that's just my honest feelings on the player at this current point in his career. Now, Sebastian Castro, a second-year UDFA out of Iowa, is interesting. His practice squatter last year for a lot of the year. The Steelers actually brought him back. Tampa Bay actually poached him after the preseason. Then the Steelers brought him back, actually, and now he's on this team. I think he's a very smart player, but a physically limited player. Maybe he ends up playing well in the preseason and he solidifies himself as that backup safety. But if that doesn't happen, man, I think you got to bring in another veteran. And, there's certainly some veteran options still out there. Donovan Wilson's interesting. Jabril Peppers, who was with this team last year, played pretty well when he was asked to play safety. He's still available. Xavier Woods, a long-time veteran, is still available. Jordan Poyer, who's very close with Aaron Rodgers, is still available. Played pretty well for Buffalo when they were desperate for safety help last year. And then Jimmy Ward, a long-time starting free safety, for the 49ers, and then previously with the Houston Texans is also available. But my pick at this position, guys, if you're going to go out and add another player to this position, it's Donovan Wilson. All right, he started for multiple years under the Mike McCarthy regime in Dallas, was a starting player just this past season, has played a lot of football, man. And if Jaquan Brisker or Deshaun Elliott goes down with an injury, I think Donovan Wilson, who by the way has worked with guys like Jason Simmons and Joe Whitt Jr. In Dallas, I think it makes a lot of sense to plug him in as that veteran backup safety. And I think at this point, Wilson has probably seen the writing on the wall. He's no longer a starting caliber player. I think he would be more than willing to take on that role here in Pittsburgh. Now, finally here, I kind of lied to you guys. I got another position I want to talk. Oh, never mind. I'll talk about that here in a second. But let's talk about the right guards. Because right guard is a position here where you got Spencer Anderson, Brock Hoffman, and Jennings Dunker, none of which have established themselves as a legitimate starting option for an NFL team. Okay, Spencer Anderson has played, like 4 games, started 4 games at guard in his career, and like half of them have been okay. The other 2 have been a disaster. Brock Hoffman has played, and he's been solid when he's been asked to play, but he's been a full-time backup in Dallas. And then Jennings Dunker's coming over as a tackle from Iowa that he's converting to guard, and he has to get used to the speed of NFL defenders. So, it's certainly a far cry to ask Jennings Dunker to come in right away and be an immediate impact as a starting guard for your offensive line. So, I do think that this is a position where you could invest in a veteran. James Daniels is still available. He's dealt with 2 major injuries back-to-back, but former Steeler, you got Mekhi Becton, who's really good at right guard for the Eagles a couple years ago, fell off big time last year for Los Angeles. And Kevin Zeitler has played for a bunch of teams, Detroit, Tennessee, Baltimore, but very good player, very good, experienced right guard. Andrews Pete was here last year. If you want to bring him back, I wouldn't necessarily mind that flyer. And Greg Van Roten's been a starting guard in this league for a while as well. But my pick here, maybe to some surprise here, would be James Daniels. I think James Daniels, if he's on the field, he is a really, really good starting offensive guard in this league. Now, maybe coming off of 2 major injuries, he tore his pec last year, and then the year before that here in Pittsburgh, he tore his Achilles. If he comes back and he's a good football player, he's got experience playing next to Zach Frazier in the short stint he played in 2024. I wouldn't mind this whatsoever to bring him in here as kind of that elder statesman that can get the job done if he can stay healthy. But now before I go, this is what I was alluding to earlier here, guys. I got a 4th position I want to talk about, which is wide receiver. And now listen, man, I think Pittsburgh would prefer not to sign another veteran wide receiver. I think that they would prefer for Jeremy Bernard and Roman Wilson to step up and be legitimate 3rd and 4th receiver options for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense. But, with that said, is it a possibility that rookie Jeremy Bernard and then 3rd year Roman Wilson, who struggled to get on the same page with Rodgers last year, just aren't up to snuff? They're not running the routes that Rodgers, they're not running the routes in the ways that Rodgers wants them to. It's definitely possible because Aaron Rodgers likes playing with smart veteran wide receivers. All right, it's very well known that Rodgers has not particularly gelled all too well with the young receivers. Roman Wilson was a big, example of that just last year. And if that doesn't get better this year and a rookie Jeremy Bernard can't get up to snuff, then you could be looking at the Steelers maybe towards the end of the preseason looking to add a veteran wide receiver. Now, there's a number of good vets that are still out there. Stephon Diggs is still looking for a team. He had over 1,000 yards last year for a team that made the Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill, the Cheetah, is still out there. Talking about guys that can take the top off the defense, that would be a fun get. The Steelers could get him. Deebo Samuel, if you're looking for someone to play that Jeremy Bernard role, but Jeremy's not ready to take on a full-time starting position, Deebo is an interesting one there that the Steelers have shown interest in the past. DeAndre Hopkins is still out there. And then Noah Brown, Brandon Cooks, a couple of guys there that have played under Mike McCarthy in the past. Alan Lazard has played with Aaron Rodgers. I think Lazard sucks, but maybe Rodgers, puts in a word for him. And then Curtis Samuel, Adam Thielen, a couple more veteran options. Now, Thielen is technically retired, but I think if Rodgers put in a word and gave him a call, he might might consider coming back. But of these names, guys, I think Tyreek Hill would certainly be a lot of fun if we get to the end of the preseason and, Jeremy's not quite getting there and Roman's not there, and you want that legitimate third piece. And if Tyreek Hill's healthy enough and he can pass a physical, this guy's still electric, man. I know that knee completely blew up on him last year, and he's getting older as it was. But I think he's going to sign for a very team-friendly, prove-it kind of deal somewhere this year. And combining Tyreek Hill's speed and his route-running ability and his experience alongside DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. with Aaron Rodgers throwing the football to those three guys could be a lot of fun in terms of a veteran wide receiver trio here in Pittsburgh. But my guess, guys, is Pittsburgh won't end up signing a receiver. I think Jeremy Bernard, Roman Wilson are going to do good enough in camp to show the Steelers we're good here. We don't need to go out and get a veteran wide receiver. These young guys are going to be good enough to, take their role in the Steelers offense this year and get the job done, and they won't end up bringing in a vet. But question of the day here, if you could pick one wide receiver for Pittsburgh to sign before camp, who is that wide receiver? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Do you think they should go smaller and faster with a guy like Tyreek Hill? Should they go more all around and a guy like Stephon Diggs? Do you want the bigger kind of almost hybrid running back in Deebo Samuel? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And if Pittsburgh does end up making a signing, guys, make sure you're subscribed because we're going to get you guys breaking news coverage right here on Steelers Talk. If it's a big enough signing or even a trade, we'll make sure to go live for you guys. But make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, if you don't want to miss a single thing that the con artist does this offseason. All right, second segment in the books here, Mr. Cully. Got one more segment to go here, and it's a fun one. Going to be talking about the Steelers defense and why I think there's a chance this defense could be the best in football this year. Now, they've got to hit some green lights, just like every other team in the league. But I think that this Steelers defense has as much potential as pretty much any other defense in the league, maybe with some exceptions. I mean, especially if Aaron Donald comes back to L.A., that's going to be that defense is bona fidely insane. But I think that the Steelers have a chance to get in that top three conversation if things fall their way, which I think that there's a reasonable expectation that it could maybe get there.
Could be a very interesting season for the Steelers defense. Obviously now not under Mike Tomlin as he is no longer the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm very intrigued to see what Pittsburgh looks like just from not only a defensive mindset and identity, but also just from a team, just how they're going to play, how they're going to fare on Sundays. Because the Steelers under Mike Tomlin, they had a certain identity that they lived and they died with their former head coach. And they were synonymous with, having a winning culture, ultimately never having a losing season for over 20 plus years. It's not easy. I mean, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So this new era with Mike McCarthy, while he is an offensive mind, that defense is going to be such a key for this team alongside with Aaron Rodgers and this offense. And I'm really interested to see just kind of how they look under new kind of leadership in that building. So, yeah, could they be a potential top three unit? You're going to break it down here in just a moment. We've talked about it off air. I think that Steelers got a lot of interesting pieces that, to your point, every team's kind of looking forward. Well, if this falls our way and if this goes right and if this player kind of takes that necessary step.
Yeah, every fan base looks at the most positive possible outlook for their team, and they think that that's the way it's going to go, and that's just not the way it goes sometimes. But, I think that there certainly is enough talent and certainly enough money being spent on this Steelers defense to have that expectation that this should be a top three defense in the league. I think, honestly, if they're even top 10, like if they're in that top 10 range, that is a disappointment for the amount of money you're spending on this group with the amount of talent that's here. I mean, the Steelers have had like a top 10 level defense the last several years, and we've all seen where that's taken us, right? It hasn't been good enough. I think if you're going to be a defensive-led team and win the Super Bowl, you have to have an elite unit, like your Seahawks last year, for example, or the Philadelphia Eagles the year before that. You got to have like a legitimately top three group. You got to be in the conversation for the best defense in the game, and then you can have an offense that's like pretty good, right? You can have a very good offense and an elite defense and win a Super Bowl. I think that that's been shown the last 2 years. We'll see if even Aaron Rodgers and the offense can get there, right? It's not a foregone conclusion that you can get to that top half of the league metric that you need on offense either. So completely agree with you, my friend. It's going to be an interesting season here in Pittsburgh, but I do think that there's reasons for optimism for sure with this new coaching staff coming in and with some of the new additions they've made. All right, man. Well, If you guys want to get in a super chat of some variety, this is our donation menu today. Any donation gets you on screen. $10, we'll wave the towel around, do some Here We Go Steelers chants. $20, you get your name on the gong, and $50, we bang. And, of course, if you guys want to get your question on the show first and you want to skip the line of super chat questions, you guys can Venmo or PayPal at Jack-Barry on Venmo or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. All right, Mr. Cully, let's get into our final segment of the day before we get into our Madden sim for the day, which is a spotlight on the Steelers defense and what needs to happen for this group to be the best in football this year. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the 2026 Pittsburgh Steelers defense and how this unit can feasibly become the best defense in the entire National Football League this year. And today we're going to be breaking down 5 separate categories. We're going to break down the importance of this defense being an elite unit if the Steelers want to accomplish their short-term goals this year. We'll talk about Patrick Graham, the new defensive coordinator, and what scheme he's going to be implementing here. Then we're going to be putting the puzzle pieces together in all 3 levels of the defense. We'll look at the defensive line, the inside linebackers, and the secondary, and how the kind of pieces fit together in this puzzle that is the Patrick Graham defense here in the Steel City. Now make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to kick off today's show if you're excited to watch this defense. I know I am. I'm a big Patrick Graham fan, as you guys are going to see over the course of this show. And hopefully by the end of today's show, you will be just as big of a fan as I am. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to kick off today's show. And now we can start with this, guys. The pressure is on for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense to show that, the money that they're spending on this group is worth it. The talent that they have invested is worth it. And if Pittsburgh's going to make that legit title push this year, it's going to have to be because of the defense, right? I don't think that the offense has enough upside on it to be the reason why the Steelers are a Super Bowl contender. So you got to really rely on the side of the ball where all the money is, where most of the talent is, and that's on the defensive side of the ball to get the job done. Once again, the Steelers have the NFL's most expensive defense, and, this has been the case for the last several years. And, the Steelers have had good defenses in the past, like top 10 level defenses, but they haven't really broken through to that next level where they're consistently shutting teams down throughout the course of an entire season, and they're like a top 3 truly elite defense. We haven't seen that here in Pittsburgh in a while, and I think the Steelers really need to break through that ceiling, if you will, if this team is really going to make noise come January. Now, the good news, guys, is that the last 2 Super Bowl champions were led by defense. They were defensive-led teams. Last year with the dark side defense in Seattle, then the year before that, Vic Fangio's defense in Philly was the best in football for that season. Those 2 teams were defensive-led clubs, and if the Pittsburgh Steelers can, replicate that kind of success, then maybe they could make some noise in January and legitimately put themselves in that group of 6 to 8 legitimate title contenders by the end of the season this year. But obviously, it's tough to be elite in anything in the NFL, and, it's definitely going to be, a pretty narrow pathway for the Steelers to thread that needle through. But let's talk about Patrick Graham, because I think, when Mike McCarthy was hired and Mike Tomlin obviously stepped down, what did I say, guys? I said the defensive coordinator hire is going to be almost just as important as the head coach hire because of how much is invested in this defense. I think Patrick Graham is an excellent fit here. And let's be just real, okay? Mike Tomlin, awesome motivator, awesome locker room manager, really good coach, okay? But him and Terrell Austin's scheme over the last several years, in my opinion anyway, got stale and predictable, and it was a lot of stagnant coverages, and defenses knew what the Steelers were trying to do, right? And they weren't really tailoring their defense to their talent. They weren't really tailoring their defense to their opponents either. They were kind of just like, this is what we do. We're gonna fit square pegs in the round holes if need be, and we're gonna try and be what we try to be, and we're not going to be adaptable. And I think what I love about Patrick Graham is that he brings the exact opposite approach, where he's looking to be adaptable. He's looking to play to the strengths of his personnel and the weaknesses of his opponent's personnel. And I think that he has an opportunity to modernize this Pittsburgh Steelers defensive scheme for the modern NFL and get the most out of this team team's talent, because I don't think that's been the case over the last several years here in Pittsburgh. And personally, man, if you can't already tell, I'm a big believer in Patrick Graham's defensive mind. I think that, he's been a defensive play caller in this league for a long time, but he's never really been on a legitimately talented defense in all three levels the way that the Pittsburgh Steelers' defense is. And I'm really excited to see what his creative defensive mind can do with a talented roster like the Steelers is heading into the year. But the big question that should be on every Steelers fan's mind here is, what kind of scheme is Patrick Graham gonna run here in Pittsburgh? Because he's run everything from, almost like a college-style 3-3-5 defense in New York back in the day to a Flores-style cover zero defense in Miami to quarters heavy in Las Vegas. And last year they played the Seattle 3 under head coach Pete Carroll there in Vegas. So what exactly is Patrick Graham going to run here in Pittsburgh? And what I'm expecting is that he's going to run a hybrid defense combining the tenets of Mike Macdonald in Seattle and Bill Belichick in New England. By the way, Patrick Graham cut his teeth for over a decade working for Belichick in New England, so that's very much a part of his schematic DNA. Now, in terms of how Mike Macdonald is going to influence Patrick Graham's defense here, it appears that Pittsburgh will base their defense out of a big nickel, two high safety pre-snap shell, the way that the Seattle Seahawks do, and the way Mike Macdonald has kind of formulated his defenses here over the last several years. Okay, and we'll talk about the ins and outs of that here in just a second. Then where Belichick's influence comes in is the man coverage, the cover one stuff that Belichick loved to run when he had the talent, specifically in the secondary, to be able to run man coverage. He would do that, and I think that the Steelers have the requisite man-to-man cover talent this year to be able to play a lot of those cover one looks and shut teams down on a regular basis. But guys, this is a scheme that, in my opinion, can take Pittsburgh's defense to the next level. As long as the Steelers defense can stay relatively healthy and that the coaching and the fundamentals are good and everything around it is sound, I think that this is a scheme that can get the most out of this defensive talent, unlike what Tomlin and Austin failed to do here in Pittsburgh over the last several years. Now, coming up here, we're going to be breaking down the roster. So we're going to be breaking down the defense from the defensive line to the inside backers to the secondary and how each kind of piece of the puzzle fits inside this new scheme here in Pittsburgh. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about a Prize Picks projection on a huge piece to this defense this year in Jalen Ramsey that you guys should be taking advantage of in your season-long lineups. I am taking the more on sacks for Jalen Ramsey. Right now, Prize Picks is only giving him a quarter of a sack projection for the entire season. Ramsey obviously had more than this last year, and that was with him playing free safety for half the season. He's going to be playing big nickel, as we're going to discuss here in a second, all throughout this year, which means he's going to be close to the line of scrimmage. He's going to be blitzing more. That's going to give him more opportunities. And with how good of a blitzer Ramsey is, I would be shocked if he does not get at least a half sack this year, which would, of course, hit the more here on this Prize Picks projection. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in additional lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now we can start here with the defensive line and specifically the biggest strength of this entire Steelers roster, in my opinion, which is its edge room. Now, yes, TJ Watt is starting to take steps backwards physically, and certainly the production spoke for itself last year, which is 7 sacks, right? For somebody that's making $41 million per season, quarterback level money, that's obviously disappointing from a financial standpoint, but TJ Watt is still an awesome football player. And then you still have Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig, who are two of some of the best supplementary edge rushers in the entire National Football League. And when you look at the edge rushing trios in the NFL, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find any group better than TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig. Obviously, I think the title for best edge rusher duo goes to the duo in Houston. But if you look at trios, I think it's tough to find any trio that's better than what the Pittsburgh Steelers have. And look for Patrick Graham to use Nick Herbig in some very creative ways this year. If I know Patrick Graham, he's going to find creative ways to get his best players on the football field. And with Nick Herbig, we saw towards the end of last year where he would come in and play off-ball linebacker as a blitzing linebacker threat. on passing downs. I expect to see that quite a bit this year. I expect to see NASCAR packages where we see Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig on the defensive line together and get the best pass rushers out there and then run a bunch of stunts and loops, get these guys to the quarterback as soon as possible. I think we're going to see another step forward in the progression for Nick Herbig this year in terms of overall production. But then we get to the defensive line. I think we'll see a rotation, a pretty healthy rotation here of these 5 men. Cam Hayward, Derek Harmon, Keanu Benton, Sebastian Joseph Day. Those 4 will be on the field most of the time, but I also think we'll see Y.A. Black in there as a rotational guy as well. And I think that, what I love about this group is that, you've got some mercenaries in here, right? Sebastian Joseph Day is more of a true run defender. He's not going to get after the quarterback all that much, but he can really help this run defense a ton because in years past, the Steelers would play Keanu Benton a lot at that nose tackle position, and he would just get driven backwards on double teams because he can't anchor. But now you got a guy in Sebastian Joseph Day that can eat up some of those early down, run-heavy snaps, and I think that he would be really, really good at that particular role. And hopefully that will allow Keanu Benton, who, by the way, is a very talented player. I think he's just been miscast by the Tomlin regime in years past to be himself. He is so disruptive. He is so quick for a guy of his size. And I think that he's going to be more allowed to kind of be more himself, which what I mean by that is more disruptive. Get after the quarterback, shoot gaps, hunt TFLs, do that sort of stuff, and I think the signing of Sebastian Joseph Day allows that to happen. Now, in terms of the front, will they run an odd front with where they have 5 linemen, or will they run an even front with 4 down linemen? The Steelers will be basing out of a 3-4 odd front, which is a 5-man front with 3 defensive linemen, 2 outside linebackers. But most of the time, they're going to be playing in a 4-man even front when they're in their nickel and dime packages, which, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I think the Steelers are going to be living in. I think they're going to be a true big nickel defense this year, which means you're going to see mostly 4-down fronts. Now, the big question here is, can Pittsburgh's older players on this defensive line, like Watt, Hayward, Sebastian Joseph Day, who's getting up there, kind of stave off physical regression, while the younger guys, and like Derek Harmon, Keanu Benton, Y.A. Black, can those guys take a step forward that we've been waiting for here in Pittsburgh? And I think that there's a decent chance of that happening, or at least most of those things happening this year. But now let's talk about the inside linebackers, because this is definitely, in my opinion, the weakness of the Steelers' defensive roster heading into the year. But there's still some intriguing question marks here because I think linebackers in the Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin defense have really struggled for a long time. And it doesn't matter who the Steelers brought in, whether it was Miles Jack or Devin Bush or Robert Spillane or Patrick Queen or any of these guys that they've brought in, they've all struggled in recent years. I mean, I've said it on the show. When was the last time a Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker, you came away from a year and said they had a great season? It's probably Ryan Shazier, right? Which is a long time ago, and he was an elite player, right? So I've seen a lot of these types of linebackers go to other places, like Robert Spillane to Vegas, Devin Bush to Cleveland, and they completely carve out new careers for themselves elsewhere when they were absolutely not starter worthy here in the Steel City. So I'm hoping that now that we're moving away from that Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin scheme and we're bringing in Patrick Graham, by the way, the same defensive coordinator that got the most out of Robert Spillane, I'm hoping that he can do the same for guys like Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, and the other members of this interior linebacker group. Now, my hope for Patrick Queen, I'm not getting my expectations out of control here, guys. Like, I'm just hoping he goes from a true liability, which he has been these last 2 years, in my opinion, to a solid piece. Somebody that's not going to get consistently beat, somebody that's going to make tackles when you give him opportunities to. The last couple of years, man, he's been a liability in coverage, and, especially last year, the missed tackle rate was just way too high for a guy of his cap hit. He needs to play much better this year to warrant that cap hit and to prove that he belongs in this Steelers organization. And then, honestly, I think that Peyton Wilson actually has the most upside out of anybody in this group. I know Patrick Queen is very physically gifted, former first-round pick, but Wilson is also very physically gifted, and I think that he's got more upside in terms of the mental side of the game than Patrick Queen does at this stage of his career. So I'm hoping that Peyton Wilson can finally take that next step up, and hopefully Patrick Graham can do for his career what he did for Robert Spillane when he went from Pittsburgh to Las Vegas those years back. Now, something else I do want to mention is that I think Cole Holcomb is grossly underrated. Coach's son is always in the right spot at the right time. Physically limited athlete. He's had a lot of injuries in his career, and that's really the big thing with Holcomb is that you just can't rely on him to stay healthy. But as long as he is healthy, he's like a very adequate starting caliber linebacker, and he's one of your backups. So that's a very nice piece to have, especially on a low-level contract. And then you got Malik Harrison, who's an excellent special teamer, and he's a good run defender, right? If push comes to shove, he can play early downs. But I do think that, the floor of this group is somewhat high, but the ceiling is also somewhat low with these linebackers. And I'm interested to see if Patrick Graham can get more out of this group. If Patrick Queen returns to all-pro level, if Peyton Wilson gets to a similar level, that could be the difference from the Steelers defense being a good unit to an elite one here in 2026. But finally here, I want to talk about the secondary because I really like some of the additions that they've made here, specifically Jamel Dean and Jaquan Brisker. And the reason why I like the Brisker signing, guys, is because it allows Jalen Ramsey to be at his best. But we'll talk about Ramsey here in just a second. What I really like about this group as well, guys, is that you got two starting corners that can just take away people on the perimeter in man coverage. And, I think that the reason why they went out and got Jamel Dean this year is because they want to run a lot of cover one, and they want to be able to rotate from those cover two kind of, two high safety pre-snap looks into a cover one look. And in order to run cover one effectively, you need two corners on either side that can really hold their own and not give up big plays down the sideline. I think the Steelers have that here in Joey Porter Jr. and Jamel Dean. And I think that that's going to give the Steelers a lot of flexibility for the types of defensive coverages they can run and get away with, especially on those passing down situations. I also really feel comfortable with the starting safety duo here. Elliott and Brisker are both interchangeable split field safeties that have very similar skill sets. Now, I keep hearing, we need a true free safety. We need a true free safety. And if this was still Mike Tomlin's defense that ran a ton of cover one and a ton of cover three and a lot of single high safety stuff, I would agree with that. But that's not what Patrick Graham is planning on doing here. They're planning on playing a lot of those quarters aligned safety looks. And I don't think you really need a quote unquote true free safety in that style of defense if that's what you're going to run. And that certainly appears to be the case heading into the season. So I think that Elliott and Brisker more than feasible there as a split field safety combination. And then you get your big nickel in Jalen Ramsey, who I'm really counting on to be that X factor that can help take this team from just an okay defense last year to a great or possibly even elite one here in 2026. And guys, the best defenses in the NFL today are playing big nickel. All right, plain and simply, it's the modern meta, if you will, of defensive formations in the National Football League. The Chargers run it all the time. Seattle pretty much bases out of it. The best defenses in the league, they're running this type of stuff. And it appears that the Steelers are embracing this new kind of big nickel revolution, especially with the rise of 12 and 13 personnel in the modern day NFL on offense. So I think the appeal of big nickel, guys, is that it allows the defense to play more two high safety pre-snap looks, which gives the passing game and passing defense way more options in terms of coverage, right? When you have two high safeties, you can either do, a true cover two or cover four quarters or cover six, or you could do a bunch of different stuff in that regard. But then you can also rotate down to a single high coverage. You could go cover three or cover one out of a two high safety pre-snap look. And essentially what that does, guys, is it doesn't give the quarterback pre-snap answers to what they're doing post-snap. So there's that big advantage there. But because you take that safety out of the box, you kind of are asking that nickel defender now to be a good run defender. So I think that is definitely something that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be trying to do here, because in order to play a good big nickel defense, in order to be actually good at playing this style of defense, guys, you have to have that big-bodied defender in the nickel position to be able to take on blocks, tackle, do all this stuff that you typically ask a strong safety to do. You just need that guy to be able to do that while also being able to defend wide receivers and tight ends as a nickel defender in the slot. So that's a very niche type of skill set that not a lot of players in this league are capable of playing, but the Pittsburgh Steelers happen to have one of those players here in Jalen Ramsey, who actually played this role for LA back in the day when Brandon Staley was really at the forefront of pretty much basing out of 2 high safety coverages. That year where LA won the Super Bowl, Jalen Ramsey played a ton in the slot, especially on early downs, as an impact run defender to get that team into 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs, 3rd and mediums, passing situations where then they would just unload Aaron Donald and let him get after quarterbacks, right? So guess what? Ramsey is still a kick-ass big nickel. All right, he had to play safety last year, and because of that, he didn't play as well as maybe he was more capable of. But we saw week in and week out when Ramsey started the season off last year as this team's starting nickel defender, he can still play that position at a high level, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to do in this type of defense that I think really plays to his strengths as a player. Even though he's not quite the athlete he once was, I definitely think him being a nickel star defender here in this defense will do wonders for what this defense is capable of doing and keeping the confusion level high for opposing quarterbacks. But then another fun wrinkle that I think Patrick Graham is going to be throwing into the mix here is I think Ramsey's going to move to the money backer, which is a dime linebacker in Pittsburgh's dime looks this year, which, by the way, if the Steelers can get into these 2nd and long, 3rd and medium, 3rd and long situations, I think we're going to see a lot of dime from the Pittsburgh Steelers this year because they can really deploy a potential NASCAR package that looks like this, where you've got Herbig, Highsmith, and Watt all on the field alongside Keanu Benton, who's also a dynamic athlete. You have either Patrick Queen or Peyton Wilson at the true Mike linebacker spot. Then you got Ramsey at the money backer position, and then you can run your nickel front there or your nickel back end with Joey Porter Jr., Jamel Dean, Brandon Echols can come in and play the slot in that situation, and then you still have Elliott and Brisker keeping the top on the defense. So I think that there's a very real pathway here, guys, to where Pittsburgh's defense could be an elite unit this season. If you want to talk about the big X factors, I would say, number 1, can your older players stave off regression? Number 2, can your younger players really take that next step? Derek Harmon, Joey Porter Jr., etc. Another big X factor is the linebacking core. Can Patrick Graham get more out of the second level of the defense? And Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, etc. And then the final X factor is Jalen Ramsey. Is he still capable of playing that big nickel position at a high level? If all those things are yes, then I think that the Steelers are going to have one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the entire NFL this year. But it's time for the question of the day here, guys. Will the Steelers have a top 3 defense in the NFL this season? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section to answer today's question. And, of course, make sure you guys click that subscribe button for daily and free Steelers coverage that we provide for you guys right here on Steelers Talk by Chat Sports every single day. All right, segment number 3 is in the books here. We did get a Venmo here, Mr. Cully. Gary F. with a 5.
Gary F.
Gary Frank, my man, with a 5. And he says, I'm predicting 12-5 with at least one playoff win. I'm expecting big things from Washington and Herbig. I mean, I'm not willing to rule out 12 wins.
Okay.
Now, I know that's a stretch for a lot of people, especially people that maybe feel like the offense is a bit, limited.
I feel like that would definitely be on the high end.
And I will say it's like 12 is probably the most I could see. Like that is best case scenario. You hit every green light along the way. Aaron Rodgers is playing top 15 ball again. The defense is elite. Like I think 12 is probably the maximum, in my opinion, Gary. But it is a feasible possibility. It's just everything's gonna have pigs are gonna have to fly. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is gonna have to go right for that to become a reality for the Steelers this year. But I do think 10, 11 wins is very feasible for the Steelers this year. I think that they're going to be a better football team this year than they've been in years past. And even though they don't have the same level of culture and leadership that Tomlin provided, I do think that you're going to be getting more focus on the fundamentals and on scheme, and it's going to be much more buttoned up from a week-to-week basis on an execution standpoint. And I think that's going to yield better results. Because here's the thing, Captain Cully. Leadership in this locker room is not an issue right now. You have excellent veteran leadership. It's not like you need Mike Tomlin to keep these guys in line. You got Aaron Rodgers, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt. All these guys are going to be fantastic leaders. what they needed was better scheme. And I think that this new coaching staff has provided that. And I'm really excited to see what this group is going to look like, man. Particularly the linebackers, because I've seen Cully year after year after year. The Steelers bring in new linebackers, but it doesn't matter what linebackers you bring in. Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin are going to ask them to match up against slot receivers in trips formations and match coverage, and they're going to get fucked. And it's like, I don't care who you have in there. Unless it's Ryan Shazier, they're going to struggle. Robert Spillane, one of the best starting linebackers in all of football, struggled in this defense. Devin Bush, a former first-round pick, struggled in this defense, went to Cleveland, completely turned around his career. Patrick Queen was a fucking all-pro before he came here. He comes here, he's immediately a liability. Is that a coincidence? I don't think it was. So the idea that you're bringing in a new defensive coordinator here who has a history of getting the most out of his linebackers, it's exciting, especially when you have guys as physically talented as Queen and Wilson.
New is always exciting, and I think the Steelers needed something new. I think that's been the theme of this offseason. Now, they bring back Aaron Rodgers, but I think from a coaching schematical standpoint, like you said, it had gotten to a point where it was just like you knew what you were getting from a week-to-week, play-by-play, drive-by-drive basis.
Very predictable.
And now under Graham, McCarthy, and the entire coaching staff, what can they make of this roster? Because now, whenever you bring in, obviously, McCarthy and maybe Graham as well, depending on how well he performs, you're not bringing these guys in, for 1 year or anything. You're hoping to build them in for the long haul. So then now you kind of start to question, okay, what players fit that future for Pittsburgh? What players fit the vision that both Patrick Graham has on the defensive side of the football and Mike McCarthy view on the offensive side of the ball? What players are for the future and which players could see themselves on the way out potentially after 2026, maybe even sooner?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Spillane wasn't even a starter here.
Yeah.
Apparently he was performing worse than guys like Miles Jack and Devin Bush, and then he goes to Las Vegas under Patrick Graham, by the way, immediately becomes one of the best starting linebackers in the game. So I'm really hoping, specifically for Peyton Wilson, because Patrick Queen, even when he was in Baltimore and he was named an All-Pro, I didn't think he was that good. I've always thought he's been a pretty bad run defender, and I think Roquan Smith did a lot of the heavy lifting in that Baltimore defense, and Patrick Queen was just kind of allowed to do his job and not have to worry about too much of the mental side of things. Because I don't think he's a very instinctual player. I think he's a physical freak, but I just think that there's a certain ceiling with Patrick Queen. But with Peyton Wilson, I see the mental, wheels turning. It's just I think he was in a tough situation in the previous regime. And we usually see year 3 or 4 is the year where these linebackers begin to get it. And I'm hoping that, in a new scheme here that hopefully gets the most out of Wilson, Wilson can be your number 1 guy.
Right.
Patrick Queen's a solid number 2. Because we've seen Patrick Queen, when he's a number 2, he can be a very, very good starting linebacker.
Yeah. But
I have a hard time believing Queen can be a number 1. So I think Peyton Wilson is actually one of this team's biggest X factors this year. And I'm excited to see what he can do because he's a very talented individual. All right, man. Well, we're going to get into our next Madden sim here. And, of course, we have Captain Cully, our Jaguars host, here today because we're playing the Jaguars in Week 14. Should be a very interesting matchup in real life when that happens. I think we just got a $2 here from Gary Frank.
$2 from Mr. Frank.
$2 from Gary. Come on.
I'll throw it up for you, Gary.
Why can't I see it? Can't see your message right now, Gary. Let me see.
Oh, no.
Oh, there it is. Oh, shit. All right, I'm sending this to you.
Something tells me that's not a normal donation. Based on your reaction there.
There we go.
There we go.
So here it is. Gary says, do you think we will sign additional year or 2 if they don't do it this year? Oh, do you think Cam will sign an additional year or 2 if they don't do it this year? They've already given him an additional year, Gary. It happened during free agency, or I think maybe right before free agency. They gave him an additional year on his contract. So he's under contract for the next 2 years, Cam Hayward is. So something tells me if this year isn't it, it'll be next year. I don't think he's going to sign another deal. But hey, we've got our first bang of the day. This one's rolling in from Derek Smith. Bang! Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I need to see everybody typing those Derek's in the chat. $50 Venmo says, what is up, my guys? I am so ready for the season. You and me both, Derek. I am so excited for the watch parties. I mean, this is going to be a fantastic year. Shout out to Gary. Get those Derek's in the chat. We got Gary Frank typing his Derek. Got Eugene Payne, Logan. Let's go, man. We got Panfish. Crazy name. Let's go, Derek. $50 Venmo.
Derek.
Do you want to slap me with a tortilla, Coley?
That's up to you. It's your show. Show.
Listen, man. Coley's not here very often. He doesn't get this opportunity too often. So we're already done with our segment. So with Derek putting in a 50, let's do a tortilla slap here. Captain Coley, it pays to be the Steelers producer sometimes, my friend. Yeah, I usually fold it. It's usually easier to slap. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Fair enough, my friends. Have a show.
Harder than that. Come on. He paid $50. No, harder than that.
Harder than that one too.
Oh. I was not expecting the backhanded slap at the end because he kept hitting like my neck, and I'm like, this doesn't hurt. And then he comes back with the backhander right on the cheek. Oh, all right. You get your fill there,
just a little bit,
Mr. Coley.
Just a little bit.
All right. Aye, aye, Captain. All right, let's get into the stream here. This week, Week 14 versus the Jags. If you want to show the results so far here, Mr. Cully, the Steelers are 8-4, coming off of 2 straight losses going into this one here. But you can see early on in the season, stacking some dubs, losing a couple home games, kind of weirdly, but beating the Patriots on the road was an impressive win, all that stuff. Then you go on a win streak. You start there in Tampa in Week 6. You go all the way to Week 11 versus Philly, winning every single game, getting to 8-2 on the year. And then you lose 2 straight at home versus Denver. Apologies for the graphic there. And then Houston last week, losing to them as well. So hopefully the Steelers can get back in the win column against Cully's Jaguars here. But certainly with Liam Cohen, they got their whole coaching staff back this year. A lot of the same players are back this year. I think Jacksonville's going to be pretty dangerous this year, if I'm being quite honest with you guys. Trevor Lawrence in year 2 of that system in Jacksonville. And you're on the road on Monday Night Football for this particular game. So this one will be another tough one, but the Steelers sitting at 8-4. By the way, if you're wondering, Baltimore is tied at the top of the division at this point in the simulated season. So I think Baltimore's next week, so we gotta get a win here. Pretty big game on Monday Night Football. So without further ado, let's get into it here, Mr. Coley. I'm so used to saying Ponzi.
All good, man.
All right, we got the regular away jerseys here. Looks like Ponzi let Coop choose the jerseys the other week here, Coley, and of course Coop picked the fucking Bumblebees, and the Steelers haven't won a game since. So I think Cully is kind of taking the uniform reins here and is going a bit milk toast. But here we go. Week 14, Monday Night Football. The kick is away. Steelers receive the ball first. This is Caden Weegan taking it out of the 4-yard line. He takes it to the 28 to start this game off. And there's Aaron Rodgers. Did everything he could to try, and he didn't play very well the first 3.5 quarters against Houston. Then he turned it up, forcing overtime. Clutch touchdown drive to force overtime, and then, unfortunately, Jaylen Warren fumbled the ball inside the 30-yard line on the other side of the field. And then C.J. Stroud and the Texans capped it off with a game-winning touchdown. See what they do here. Starting off in I formation, doubles left. Rodgers will take the snap and hand it off to Jaylen Warren, and he's going to get stopped behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 2. Not the best way to start this game there, Cully.
Not the best. Not something you would ideally like if you're Pittsburgh. What's been like a theme throughout the Madden season, just in general, from either the Steelers offense or defense?
Shotgun here for Rodgers, just going to throw it, dump it down to Warren on the mesh concept. He'll pick up 6, and he'll force a third and medium. I would say no pass rush.
Yep.
It's usually a big theme. Weird game management decisions, I would say. Rodgers will miss 4 or 5 throws a game where it's just like accuracy's terrible. Then his clutch factor has to be like 99 because he always shows up on the big drives. Now Rodgers here on third down finds, who is this here? Is that Jeremy Bernard? No, it's DK Metcalf with the first down reception. Jacksonville tried to light up Rodgers. He got rid of it just in time to his number 1 receiver. That will move the chains. First down, Steelers.
First down, Pittsburgh.
Shotgun here, trips right. Metcalf, the lone receiver, out to the left. Handoff, they send a blitz. Warren not going anywhere, no gain. Gary's asking, why is Mike Tomlin still coaching? Well, because we can't swap out the coaches in play now, which is how we do these sims. But we do have the updated rosters, and we do have the updated playbook. So it's Mike McCarthy's offensive playbook and Patrick Graham's defensive playbook for the Steelers. Under center here, quick 3-step drop. Rodgers throws to Metcalf. It is incomplete. Metcalf couldn't get the second foot down on the quick out route. It'll be 3rd down and 10. Not a good spot to be in here, Cully.
Not ideal. The thing is the Steelers, just like any other offense, right? You really want to make sure you stay on schedule, as the old saying goes, and they are not it right now.
Shotgun here, trips right again for Rodgers, trying to move the chains. He will take the snap. They send another blitz. Rodgers will throw short of the sticks, but caught. Metcalf will pick up the first down, picks up 12. Big time Steelers, first down. Looks like Metcalf has been the favorite here on 3rd downs for Rodgers. Keeping the drive alive, moving the ball. Now they're still, I think they just got past midfield. They did. In Jaguar territory here at their 45. 13 personnel for Rodgers and the Steelers. They'll hand it off to Warren on another first down run. Are we sure this isn't Arthur Smith right here calling the plays? Because it seems like every single first down we're running for no gain.
Little Dennis Gardeck action. I think Jacksonville is going to be a really interesting team. I know we talked about the Steelers, obviously giving Steelers talk. Jacksonville, a lot of people have their varying opinions on where the Jacks are going to be next year.
Shotgun here, 3 receiver set, throws over the middle on a double slant concept. It's caught by rookie out of Alabama, Jeremy Bernard, for a gain of 8. Yeah, I'm more optimistic about the Jags because I think they got a lot of continuity there, and I just think that goes a long way in this league, and I just don't love a lot of teams in the AFC South this year. I think Tennessee's still a year away. Houston's got great defense, but they're limited on offense. Quick throw again on another double slant, and Rodgers, I guess, overshot DK, couldn't come down with the catch, and that's going to be 4th down and 2. Rodgers went to Metcalf for the 3rd straight 3rd down. This time Metcalf can't bring it down. It's a big drop right there, Coley.
Big drop. You expect DK Metcalf to come down with that in a big spot.
So this is a 54-yard attempt from Chris Boswell, best kicker in the league. Going to put it up. Did he make it? And he missed. Chris Boswell's second missed kick of the year on a 54-yard attempt, and that is where Jacksonville will take over. Great field position for Lawrence and company. Not great. Don't love that.
Don't love it. If you're a fan of the Steelers.
And we got producer Ponzi in the chat. Ponzi actually got a half day today. That's why he's not our producer today, but he's in the chat watching the game with us here, so shout out to Ponzi.
Shout out.
Now Trevor Lawrence with a nasty bunch out to the left, staple of Liam Cohen's offense. Shotgun here for Lawrence, takes the snap. He will throw the quick out route. It is caught. Brian Thomas Jr. for a gain of 5. I'm really intrigued here, Cully, to see if Trevor Lawrence takes that I mean, we've been waiting, it seems like, for years to see if he takes that step into stardom.
Mm-hmm.
But last year was a good step in the right direction. Played very well in the second half of the year. He's got some good weapons to throw to. I'm excited to see what he does in Liam Cohen's scheme. He's going to run up the middle here in a QB draw. He's going to pick up a first down.
Yeah, the last 8 games of the season, he really turned it on. His numbers were up across the board. Ironically, it coincided with them trading for Jacoby Myers. That really opened things up.
That was huge. Jacoby's a good player. Steelers, I mean, it was down to the Steelers and Jags, and he chose Jacksonville.
You saw something there?
Under center here, condensed formation, 2x2 for Lawrence. He will take the snap and go play action. Throws quickly, though, and Patrick Queen is there to knock it away. Incomplete. Be second down and 10.
Who is the Pittsburgh Steelers starter that you're the least confident in as of this current moment heading into 2026?
Spencer Anderson, maybe. Maybe Patrick Queen. Shotgun here, handoff. It's going to be Bigsby, and he's going to pick up no yards.
No Bigsby. Bigsby is no longer in Jacksonville. That's Bashal Tootin.
Oh, yes. I forgot Bashal Tootin. I like Bashal.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Bigsby now resides in Philadelphia.
That's right. I forgot that he moved.
He did.
And I don't even think he wore 33.
No.
So I don't even know why I thought that was Bigsby. Shotgun here. Third down and 10. This is a great opportunity for the Steelers to get off the field. Takes the snap. Steelers send a blitz. Now pressure on him. He's sacked by Cam Hayward, the 2-time reigning All-Pro. Brings down T-Law, and that'll be the end of this drive for the Pussycats in Jacksonville. They will have to punt. Great job by Captain Cam there, getting the pressure and the sack. I think he has more sacks than TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith combined this season. I will say, if pressure's coming, it's coming up the middle in this game.
Fair enough. We talked about it beforehand.
Bigsby wore 4 last year for Jacksonville.
Yes.
I don't know why I thought that.
Happens.
Kicks away. And it's going to be out of bounds at the 5. Great freaking punt from Jacksonville, and that's going to pin the Steelers deep.
Shout out to Logan Cook.
Yeah, Logan Cook with the coffin corner there.
Yeah. Got a star-studded special teams group in Jacksonville, let me tell you.
Oh, I know. We played Jacksonville last year in the first preseason game, and Little broke the record or whatever in the preseason. What was it, like 67 yards or something, or 77? It was crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Shotgun here for Rodgers. Now he has to scramble. Now he throws on the run. Beautiful throw from Rodgers to Warren on the Texas route. It is caught for a massive gain of 20. First down, Steelers.
Warren just stays producing, man. He's kind of one of those, when you talk about the better running backs in the National Football League, his name doesn't get brought up a lot unless you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But he can catch out of the backfield. He can run between the two tackles.
Almost underrated running back in the league, in my opinion. So good. Does everything. Under center here, toss play to Warren. He's going to try and find the outside lane. He's not going to find it. Loss of 2, timeout, Jacksonville. I don't know why they're calling timeout here, though. It's not the second quarter. It's the end of the first quarter. But oh, no, there's an injury timeout. Jalen Warren is injured. That's not good.
Don't load to
and now Rico Dowdle's going to get a chance to get a little bit more.
See if this adjusts Pittsburgh's game plan a little bit. It's going to take some time to get used to Michael Pittman in the Steelers jersey.
Yeah, I think it will, but I think he's going to be such a good fit with Rodgers, man. Smart, savvy guy with good hands. That's exactly the type of guy Rodgers targets a lot. Speaking of Rodgers, he's in empty here. Now he has to step up, and he's going to get sacked. Oh, my gosh. Mason McCormick just got his lunch money taken from him.
Ventrell Miller.
And that's going to be Ventrell Miller with the sack. 3rd and 17 coming up, and Rodgers is getting up and limping a little bit.
Ooh. Miller, the favorite to start opposite of Foye Oluokun in that linebacker room now that Devin Lloyd has departed for Carolina.
Yeah, big loss. That's probably the biggest loss for Jacksonville?
Him and A-Chan obviously leaving for New Orleans.
Yeah, true. A-Chan's fine.
Yeah, but Lloyd's usually the bigger one.
We got pistol formation here for Rodgers. Takes the snap. Now he has to scramble. He has to throw down the field. Incomplete. Good coverage from Jacksonville. Tried to go to his 3rd down target at this point in the game. I think that's the 5th time he's targeted him here on a 3rd down. DK Metcalf. This time it falls incomplete. Jacksonville makes quick work of that drive. Now the Steelers will have to punt.
It's early on, but again, staying ahead of schedule.
Kick is away. Panfish King says, Jack, I've told so many Steelers fans about this show. I'm 18. I've been watching for 3 years. Great stuff. Can't wait for the season. Hashtag, here we go, Steelers. Shout out to Panfish. So Jacksonville, once again, decent field position here. Cully, 33-yard line for T-Law and company. Let's see if the defense can make a stop. Shotgun for Lawrence. 3 receivers set for the Jags. Takes the snap, hands it off. Tootin. He's going to try and stiff arm Peyton Wilson. It's unsuccessful, but he is able to get a 6-yard gain and a successful first down carry.
Little 0-0 first quarter.
0-0 first quarter. Welcome to the electric city of Madden here, Cully. Under center for Lawrence. Condensed formation, 2-by-2. It's going to be 3-step drop, quick throw, and it's almost intercepted. Peyton Wilson almost jumped that. Definitely a risky throw there from Trevor Lawrence there, Cully.
Yep, trying to give it to Travis Hunter over the middle. And
he won't be playing receiver that much this year, right?
He'll be playing some. Cohen and Gladstone both came out and said that they expect him to play on both sides of the ball with an emphasis more at corner.
Gotcha. Shotgun here. Lawrence is going to throw wide open, caught, first down. Parker Washington on the catch. No, that's Jacoby Myers. My bad.
Jacoby Myers.
Parker Washington's 11. Jacoby Myers with the first down reception. And now they get into 13 personnel. Under center is Lawrence. Single receiver. Looks like it's Brian Thomas Jr. at the top. Play action. Now he throws awkwardly. It's caught, though, by Tootin. Picks up maybe a short gain. And now Brenton Strange, the newly paid tight end, is down holding his ankle. That's going to create an injury timeout. 2nd down and 6 coming up.
Getting looked at on the sideline. As you mentioned, recently signed a 3-year extension to stay in Duval County. Has Ramsey had any big plays in Madden so far?
Yeah, he's had a couple interceptions. It's an X factor. Right now he's playing safety, though. Shotgun for Lawrence. Spread formation. Takes the snap. They send a blitz. Now Lawrence throws to the flat. It's caught for a short gain. 3rd down and 3 coming up. Jacksonville is in Steeler territory, but they're out of field goal range right here. This is a big 3rd down and short coming up for the Steelers defense.
Are you a guy that you want to potentially bring pressure here, or based on how the game flow, you're willing to sit back in coverage? This was you.
Oh, here we go. We'll see. He's going to throw it once again, just easy, and now a flag. Is this going to be a face mask on Jalen Ramsey? Holding on the offense.
Anton
Harrison, the tackle. So now they get parked back 3rd and 13 when the Steelers just gave up another 3rd down and short. Now it's going to be tougher here for Lawrence. Takes the snap. He's looking. Here comes Cam Hayward. He throws. It's caught. Are they going to get it? They're going to be close, and he got it. Are you kidding me? A backup tight end got that shit. That's Borkricher, the crazy 2nd-round pick selection, right?
Your favorite selection.
My favorite selection in the whole draft. Comes in for Brenton Strange and picks up a 3rd and fucking 12. Gotta be kidding me. Now Jacksonville gets a new set of downs. Under center, 2-by-2 formation. Gonna send a man in motion. They're gonna give him the ball, and he gets blown up. That is Nick Herbig in the backfield making the tackle. Be 2nd down and 11 after the TFL from the new $100 million man in Pittsburgh.
So much talent on that Steelers defense, Nick Herbig.
Yeah, the defensive line it's so deep and so good. Under center here, he's got a tight bunch to the right. Play action. Now Lawrence has all day to throw. Throws downfield. It's knocked away. Great coverage by Deshaun Elliott. One of the more underrated safeties in the entire National Football League. It'll be 3rd down and 11. All right, Ponzi, or Coley. Well, Ponzi's watching too. All right, Ponzi. We get a 3rd and 11 here. Yeah. Got to get off the field. We can't let them convert a 3rd and 12 and a 3rd and 11. They go trips right. Shotgun for Lawrence. Takes the snap, looking, stepping up. Now throws past the sticks and caught again. First down, Jags. Are you kidding?
Brenton Strange.
Brenton Strange back from the ankle injury, I guess. Got taped up, went out there, caught a first down on a 3rd and 11. What a joke. Elite defense, my ass. Under center in the same kind of tight bunch formation. Hand off to Tootin. He gets good blocking up front. He'll pick up a first down and then some, all the way down to the Steelers' 9-yard line. First down, Jags.
Tootin getting into the red zone here. Prize Picks red zone, some would say.
We will not say that. Prize Picks wants the red zone naming rights. They can pay for it.
Fair enough.
Guess they already do.
I was going to say.
Shotgun here, tight bunch. This time in the shotgun, though, they're going to send Brian Thomas Jr. in motion to create a 2-by-2 formation. Quick throw, and I don't even know where that was. I think he was trying to go on the drag route, and it ends up hitting his offensive lineman. Incomplete. 2nd down and goal coming up.
Pretty sure Travis Hunter leads the Jaguars targets up to this point. That'd be a shocking development.
Yes, it would.
If it actually happened that way.
Shotgun here. Spread formation. 2 out to the right. Takes the snap. Looking. Stepping up. Now throws end zone. Tight coverage. Incomplete. Joey Porter Jr., who apparently is not a top 10 cornerback according to ESPN Cully, breaks it up. 3rd down and goal. Big play here. Got 9 yards to go too. Like,
not easy.
This is not a 4th and goal situation that you go for it. Unless you can get inside the 5, I don't think they go for it here. Shotgun, tight formation. They're going to send, looks like Borkercher again in motion. Takes the snap. Lawrence looking, pressure getting in. He throws it short of the sticks. Incomplete. Good coverage from the Steelers again. They will force the field goal. That is Pittsburgh native Jaquan Brisker on the breakup. Now, Cully, you're also our producer for our Bears channel here at Chat Sports. Do you have anything you want to say about Jaquan Brisker?
It's a shame that throughout his NFL career, one of the big storylines with him is he's never been able to stay healthy, as the Cam Little kick is up and good. Supremely talented, willing to obviously help in the run support. Very much was a box safety in his time in Chicago and Matty Eberflus's defense. Think that if he can stay on the field, which knock on wood, you always hope for that for NFL players. He's a guy that's more than a capable safety that can make plays in both the run and in the pass game. Is he the guy that has the most fluid hips in the world in coverage? No,
nope.
But I do think that given the right situation, he can perform at a high level.
Some great insight there from Captain Cully as Caden Legion takes it out to the 26-yard line. So Rodgers and the Steelers offense will retake over with a 3-point deficit. They got 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the half.
He honestly I think it was either the Rams or the Packers playoff game. He played out of his mind.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. And it's just.
And I always love these stories of people playing for their hometown teams.
Right.
He grew up a Steelers fan. Like, he cares about it, man. He's going to give everything he's got to this organization. So I'm excited for him. Shotgun here, pony formation for Pittsburgh. Going to throw it quickly to Jalen Warren, who's back in the game. He'll pick up 2 yards. Classic Aaron Rodgers, get rid of the ball quickly to a running back. That was the story of last season, Ponzi. Or Cully. Keep screwing that up.
Ponzi's watching somewhere. I think he's in the chat.
Under center here, I formation, doubles left for Pittsburgh. Takes the snap, 3-step drop. Rodgers has to get rid of it quickly. Behind the line of scrimmage to Dowdle it goes, and he will fight his way forward for a single-yard gain. 3rd down and 7, another 3rd and long here for Pittsburgh's offense, in danger of giving this ball right back to Jacksonville. By the way, Jacksonville gets the ball to start the second half.
But they do. One thing I wanted to ask you too, Sperry, is there a specific Steeler that maybe people outside of Pittsburgh, I'll let you call this?
Rodgers throwing middle, first down for Metcalf. Throws it to Metcalf on a 3rd down again. This time Metcalf able to reel it in. First down, Pittsburgh.
Is there a particular player on the Steelers that people aren't paying attention to enough that could be a really big impact for Pittsburgh?
Maybe Caden Legion, just because of the special teams impact. Because obviously we see more returns in the kicking game nowadays, and if you have a legitimately game-changing kick and punt return man, like, that could change games, man. And I think that Caden Legion could be that guy. back-to-back kick return man of the year in college. He's insanely dynamic with the ball in his hands. By the way, what a throw from Aaron Rodgers there before the 2-minute warning. Fitting that into Michael Pittman Jr. in the tightest of windows, and then Michael Pittman Jr. makes a contested catch. Great play from Pittsburgh, and now Rodgers will hand this off to Dowdle, and he's not going anywhere. A loss of 1. Run game doing nothing.
Nothing.
In this game for Pittsburgh so far. Yeah, I would probably say Caden Weegan.
Was it the Shrine Bowl that he had a really big kind of standout performance?
He played great at the Shrine Bowl this year. Didn't really get to show off his receiving chops all that much at Iowa because they don't pass the football. But here we go, pistol formation. Quick little dump off to Muth for a gain of 5. I can't believe that was a gain of 5, Cully. That was like the shortest throw I've ever seen.
That is Madden in a nutshell for you.
Yeah, well, we're sitting at 3rd and 6. 3rd and manageable here. Trips left into the boundary here. Now stepping up. Rodgers throwing on the run, and it's intercepted. What are you doing, Aaron Rodgers? And it's going to be returned to the 28. What is Aaron Rodgers doing? Stepping up, throwing on the run. Definitely overshot his receiver, but there was a safety waiting right for the football. Dumb decision from Aaron Rodgers, and now Jacksonville takes over with a chance to go up 2 scores before getting the ball to start the second half. Coley, that might be a big mistake here in the grand scheme of this game.
Jacksonville last season was one of the top teams. In fact, they were number 2 in the league in terms of interceptions, second only behind the Chicago Bears last year. So, par for the course.
You want to know who was number 1 in turnovers last year, forced? Be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it was more forced fumble production than interception production. Shotgun here for Lawrence. Condensed formation. Takes the snap. He's looking. He's going to dump it off quickly to Hunter. It's going to be caught. Bouncing off of Steelers defenders and picks up 9 yards. That twig bouncing off of Patrick Queen and Jalen Ramsey and all these guys as Rodgers blames everybody for his terrible decision.
How dare you question the Shohei Ohtani of football?
That's tough.
Sarcasm, folks.
That's tough. 3 receiver set, shotgun. Lauren throws quick, out route on the stick. It's caught. Borkature again. Yeah. First down.
Madden just giving you the finest gameplay here.
Mm-hmm. Just the best. Just nothing but the best. Just the best. Under center condensed formation, 2x2 here for Jacksonville. A new set of downs as the first half is coming to a close here. They're not using their timeouts. It's going to be absolutely leveled towards the sideline. He does get out of bounds, though. No, he didn't. Clock is ticking down. Jacksonville not using their timeouts. They're going to let this go to the end of the half. I don't know, man. You're at the 46. You're one chunk away from at least going up by 6. Instead, Liam Cohen wants to play it safe. Hell, they probably could have brought out Cam Little for a ginormous kick right there. Guess not.
Liam Cohen pulling his best Matt Eberflus impression and just hold on to his timeouts. Hold on to him.
And we've seen that quite a bit during this Madden simulated season, Coley. Just the game management can just be so questionable, to say the least. All right, man. Well, that's halftime.
Did you see that for Jacksonville? The leading rusher has 0 yards for Jackson.
Wait, that can't be the case, though, because Tootin has definitely had more than 0.
Clearly, again, Madden at its finest, but jeez.
Well, I mean, Steelers defense got to show up here. They don't want to go down 2 scores on the road. Jacksonville will get the ball to start this second half. Maybe Ponzi didn't turn up the game management IQ again. F Ponzi in the chat.
Come on, Ponzi.
Going to return this out to the 25. Decent coverage from the Steelers, and that's where Jacksonville will once again take over. It seems like Jacksonville's just dominated the ball in this game. And the Steelers, I mean, once they get just something going, something shit happens, and they're not able to finish the drive.
Someone says, or Panfish says, I've been playing Madden all day. Trust me, LOL. The fact that you're still playing Madden in July this late in the year, that's a real one.
He's got to really be itching for some football, man.
Yes.
Under center here is Lawrence. 2x2 formation. Takes the snap. 5-step drop. Quick throw to the out. It's caught by Brian Thomas Jr. for a gain of 9.
A lot of buzz around BTJ this offseason. See if that actually turns into on-field production or not.
Apparently he was balling out at OTAs.
Balling. Every other reporter felt like it was like BTJ, another amazing
Crazy catch. Shotgun here for Lawrence, 3-receiver set. Handoff. Tootin, did he get there? He did. Just barely picked it up. Yeah. First down, Jags.
The former Virginia Tech Hokie.
Fast as hell, man. Like, he is so fast.
Yeah. Can he shoulder more of a workload this season? I mean, Chris Rodriguez.
Can he limit the fumbles? How many fumbles did he have last year?
I think he may have only had like
that was a big issue for him at Virginia Tech, I remember. Under center, fake the jet sweep, hand off to Tootin. He breaks one tackle, and he's going to make another move, and he'll pick up a first down, gets close to midfield. As Nick Herbig brings him down from behind. The first down, Jags at their own 47.
Down, Jags. Let's see.
Shotgun takes the snap, hand off to Tootin. He's going to spin move here. He's going to pick up 7. Second down and 3 coming up. And I got to say, man, the run defense, specifically against Denver, was a big issue for Pittsburgh.
Ironically, both in the same game. There you go.
Under center, hand off to Tootin. He's going to pick up another Jaguars first down as they get down to the Steelers' 40. Got to stop the run, man. It's been a big issue for the Steelers' defense the last 2 seasons, the inconsistency with it.
Can this improved linebacker core step up?
Well, at least we're hoping it's improved. It's the same players, but you're hoping to get different production because of the scheme. But handoff here from Shotgun, not going anywhere. There we go. Speaking of the linebackers, Peyton Wilson, Patrick Queen combined for that tackle. Second down and 10. Shotgun here, weird formation, weird splits with stacks on each side out wide. Now there's pressure quickly on Lawrence. He has to get rid of it, and Tootin's going to be brought down immediately by Jaquan Brisker for a loss. It'll be 3rd and 16 coming up. Got to get off the field here, Cully.
No doubt about it.
Got to get off the field. It's 3rd and 16. Honestly, if I'm Jacksonville, I'm just trying to make this an easier field goal for Cam Little. I'm not even really particularly looking for a first down. If I can get it, great, but I'm just trying to get a little bit of yardage for Cam. Now he's going to throw in the seam, incomplete, threw it low to Jacoby Myers. It'll be 4th and 16. I think they got a punt here. I mean, yes, you got Cam Little, who's probably in that conversation of like the top 3 best kickers in the league. And they're going to try it, 62 yards. Everyone type miss in the chat.
Spam those M's.
Type M. The kick is up. Does it make it? It's no good, and the Steelers take over in Jacksonville territory. Let's go, man. 62 yards is crazy. If he would have made that, I would have been so pissed. But, hey, the Steelers get the ball here on Jacksonville's 47. They're already past midfield. Got to take advantage of this drive. Here we go, heavy formation. With Reilly Nowakowski in at fullback. It's going to be play action. Rodgers has time. He throws, caught. That is Rico Dowdle. He makes one guy miss, and he's still going. Gets all the way down to the Jags 27. First down, Steelers.
Moving the chains. Rico Dowdle obviously coming over this offseason from Carolina.
Before that, Dallas, where he finished very strong in that 2024 campaign. That was Mike McCarthy's last impression of him. Shotgun here for Rodgers. Takes the snap. Hands it off to Dowdle, and he loses a yard. Thank you. How many first down runs for losses have we gotten in this game from the Steelers offense? This is a joke. And then Jacksonville is carrying it for like 5 yards a carry at least. Now they send Rodgers an empty. I mean, might as well. Can't run the football. Now Rodgers looking, throws the quick little drag route. It's caught, and he's going to outrun his man. Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama gets all the way down to the Jags' 9-yard line. First down, Pittsburgh. Jeremy Bernard has had a phenomenal rookie season in this Madden simulation. Number of catches. Last game, Ponzi, I think the touchdown was just an insane catch. Did I say Ponzi again?
You did.
I'm so used to saying it. Shotgun here from the pistol, trips right. Rodgers takes a snap, throws towards the end zone on the fade, and it's going to be incomplete. Where's the flag? Where's the flag? Come on. Is that Jordan Lewis right there? Jordan Lewis, former Mike McCarthy player in Dallas.
That he was. Spent majority of his career in Dallas.
Just completely interfering with the receiver. What do you have to say to that, Jaguar Coley?
Looks good coming off the foot injury.
I'm sure. Shotgun here. Rodgers looking pressure. Now has to get rid of it quickly. He does. Now spin move from Dowdle. He's pounding his way through. Gets down to the 1-yard line. Third down and goal coming up. Do you dare run the football here, Coley, with how bad they have been so far on the ground?
I wouldn't hate it.
Or do you put it in the hands of Aaron Rodgers, who was one of the best red zone quarterbacks in the league last year?
Going pistol here.
Pistol with Rodgers, trips left, handing it off to Dowdle, and of course it's a long, winding handoff and a loss of 2. Jesus Christ.
Do they go for it here?
That's the question. Will Pittsburgh take the points in the tie, or do they try and go for it here? Mike McCarthy with a big tan from Steelers training camp, sending in a...
They're going for it.
Boswell, but they're going for this here. 4th and goal from the 3, empty formation for Rodgers. Biggest play of the game so far. Takes the snap. Rodgers looking towards the end zone, and it's incomplete. Awfully thrown. Where was that even 2? Not on the same page with DK Metcalf, and Jacksonville takes over at the 3. Goodness gracious, man. Just when you think the Steelers are getting the groove, Rodgers throws a stupid interception, or he has one of his terrible thrown balls.
It's not going to get you 12 wins right there, Jackson.
Yeah, it's not going to get us 12 wins by doing that. I mean, right now, Steelers at 8-4. It's pretty good, but we're about to get to our 5th loss if and our 3rd in a row. If that's the way Rodgers is going to play. It's going to be a quick throw from Lawrence in the flat. It's dropped, incomplete. Tight coverage from JPJ.
The just force feeding of Travis Hunter is a sight to watch.
It is. Especially because he's taking all these reps at corner.
Literally.
Does he even play corner in Madden?
In Madden, I'm not sure.
Under center here. Handoff, pressure up the middle already. And it's just going to be a 2-yard gain. Sebastian Joseph Day forced him off his original trajectory. We 3rd down and 8 coming up. Come on, get off the field. Try and get a sack here. Get a safety. Get after his ass. They'll go out in shotgun, trips left for Lawrence. TJ Watt is out there in coverage. I hope they're not playing man. Quick throw to the flat. Caught, but no gain to Brian Thomas Jr., who steps out of bounds. Nice play call, Liam.
Is this Liam Cohen or Shane Waldron?
Or is it Grant Udinsky?
Nah, we'll give Boy Genius the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I'm gonna put all my blame on Shane Waldron. Can't escape him.
And now no block kick here for Pittsburgh, even though they're backed up big time. It's going to be fielded by Weegan at the 35. This is going to be great field position again for Pittsburgh.
They are calling for Will Howard in the chat.
Yep, they are calling for Will Howard in the chat. I cannot wait for Aaron Rodgers to throw his first incompletion of the season, and for all the people in my watch party chat to say we want Will Howard. Can't wait.
That's when you know football is back.
So when you know football is back is when Steelers fans want the bad backup to play over the starter.
After the starter does something very reasonable for being a starter.
All right, Steelers with good field position here to start. 47-yard line. Nasty bunch here. Going to be a quick throw to Metcalf. It's caught for a gain of 7 for Pittsburgh as they now get into Jacksonville territory. 2nd down and 3.
This feels like a Steelers-Jags primetime fight, at least in years past. Just ugly football.
This feels like a Mike Tomlin game.
Yes.
Shotgun here for Rodgers. Takes the snap, draw play, and he's not going anywhere. 3rd and 3. Just no run game to speak of at all. No blocking up front. If you're going to win this game, it's probably going to have to come on the back of Aaron Rodgers. Pause.
Let us know down below in the chat. Would you run or pass here? Run or pass?
Shotgun here, 3 receiver set. Rodgers takes the snap, looking for the quick option, and he way overthrows his receiver, incomplete. See, what I tell you, Coley, at least 4 or 5 times a game, Rodgers will just throw like something way over someone's head, or it's not even close. But just you wait. Next drive, when he's in clutch time, he's going to deliver.
Man always shows up when it matters.
Now the punt's away, and it's a terrible punt. Absolutely muffs it. And now Jacksonville gets the ball at the 28. Boo! This sucks, bro. This product that the Steelers are putting on our screens right now is embarrassing. And it's not even real life. It's just Madden. But, like, come on, man. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Under center here. The tight bunch out to the right. Takes the snap, hands it off to Tootin. He's got good blocking up front, and he's going to pick up a solid gain already at the 43-yard line. First down, Jags.
Toot toot. Tootin'. Toad in the rock. Not seen any Chris Rodriguez today.
It's because he sucks. Under center, 2x2 formation. Lawrence takes the snap and hands it off to Tootin, who's not going to get that far, just a 2-yard gain for the second year back out of the Hokies.
The Hokies.
God, dude, if the Steelers' offense looks like this for like the 4th straight year, it's just going to get so exhausting.
What will you do if in a Mike McCarthy offense, the Steelers are trailing 3-0 in a game in 2026?
It's
in the 4th quarter.
I mean, if you win, you win, but like it's tough. Handoff here, not getting much. Good run defense here from Pittsburgh. It'll be 3rd and 7. Get off the field here, man. You got plenty of time if you can get them off the field right here. But if you give up a touchdown on this drive, the game's pretty much over with the way this offense is playing. Shotgun here for Lawrence. Nasty bunch out to the right. Takes the snap. Quick throw over the middle. And Brian Thomas Jr. is going to make the catch on Jalen Ramsey. First down, Jags. That's a big pickup right there.
It looks like 2024 Brian Thomas Jr. versus 2025 BTJ. Can the Steelers get a stop?
The Steelers have been so bad on 3rd and longs in this game. Handoff. Good push from the Jags O-line. Going to get 6 yards here on a good first down carry for Tootin. Toot, toot. Come on, defense. What are we doing, man? Shotgun, condensed formation with a tight bunch out to the left. Lawrence sends a man in motion. Hunter, just form a 2x2 formation. Going to throw a quick little screen out there. Runs backwards. They gets blasted right at the line of scrimmage, but he picks up the first down. Hunter gets right up and signals first down like nothing happened.
He said, wait room.
Easy over there. Now inside the Steelers 30 again are the Jacksonville Jaguars as they're going to start killing clock. Under center here for Lawrence. Handoff to Tootin. Picks up 2. And obviously the Steelers have all 3 timeouts. Now Jacksonville does need to call one more play here or snap the ball one more time before the 2-minute warning.
Michael says, I've never seen a Madden game 3-0 in the 4th quarter. Well,
Yeah,
today's your lucky day.
It's crazy, bro. Shotgun here for Lawrence. 3 receiver set. Steelers threatening blitz with Patrick Queen. They're going to hand it off, and there's going to be nothing there. Good job by the Steelers front to get the stop. 2-minute warning in Jacksonville. 3-0 in the worst Monday Night Football game of all time. Shotgun here Big down here for Pittsburgh. Got to get a stop. Takes the snap. They send pressure. Lawrence looking, throwing downfield, and he overthrows his man. Incomplete. Clock stops. Steelers have all 3 timeouts. Jacksonville will have to kick the field goal. Plenty of time. All 3 timeouts and a clutch Aaron Rodgers. Just wait till you see what happens on this next drive, Cully. This is the Sperry special right here. As Little puts it up with that big leg of his, and he puts it in. 6-0 Jaguars. And, this Steelers defense has been pretty bad, I would say, throughout the game. It's a miracle they've only given up 6 points.
And they've got a chance to win it here at the end.
Even though they haven't scored any points in this game.
This is the definition of a Mike Tomlin primetime game.
Kick is away. It's going to be fielded at the 4-yard line. And Weegan is tackled at the 25. You know what's weird, though, Cully? Caden Weegan's a 95 kick returner in this game. He hasn't returned one past the 28 this whole season. And Jeremy Bernard, who's like a 75 kick returner, gets it past the 30 like every time. It's crazy. But here we go. At the 25, you got all 3 timeouts, minute 48 left on the clock, and Aaron Rodgers, who it seems like every time he's had a clutch drive to deliver, has delivered it this season. Let's see if he does it again here on Monday Night Football. I formation. Rodgers will take the snap. He's looking. He will throw into the little corner there. Tight window caught by Pat Fryer. Move! Let's go. First down, Steelers. What I tell you, Coley, he turns it up when the game is on the line in this game. I think it's because I don't even know if clutch is a attribute in Madden, but if it is, he's got it jacked all the way up. Under center here, tight formation, takes a snap, quick slant, caught for a shorter gain of 5. Clock continues to tick.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are driving. Almost to midfield, to be fair. Still got plenty of time.
Plenty of time, but you got to score a touchdown. You got about 60 seconds. Takes a snap from the shotgun. Rodgers looking, stepping up, throwing down the field. Incomplete, good coverage. Tried to go to Muth again. Clock stops, 3rd and 5. 58 seconds to go.
Play call are you calling here?
I don't know, man. Something that works.
Why didn't I think of it?
Shotgun here, nasty bunch out to the left, single receiver out to the right. Rodgers steps back, looking, throwing, and he overthrows his man again. Incomplete, 4th and 5. You've got to be kidding me. All right, here's the game. 55 seconds to go. They send Rodgers in empty with a quads formation out to the left, single receiver to the right. Will this be the 3rd straight loss for Pittsburgh? Rodgers takes the snap. He's going to throw down the field. Tight window throw. It's caught. Oh, my goodness. Jeremy Bernard with the game on the line. Contested catch situation. Brings it down. First down, Steelers. No timeout being called. I think Ponzi, once again, forgot to turn up the IQ. Because Jacksonville didn't call timeout at the end of the first half. F Ponzi in the chat. Rodgers looking, throwing into the seam. It's caught down the middle. Touchdown, Michael Pittman Jr. Oh, my goodness. They were down to their last play. 2 plays later, it's a tie ball game. MPJ on this freaking seam ball. Rodgers finds him. What did I tell you, Cullen? What did I tell you? And Liam Cohen can't believe it on the sideline as now we're a Boswell extra point away from Pittsburgh taking the lead, and that's exactly what happened. 7-6, Steelers lead. Less than a half minute to go. Now, here's the thing. It's not over. 3 timeouts. You've got 26 seconds. Jacksonville could absolutely get within Cam Little field goal range. One of the best kickers in the game. But what a throw and what a play by Michael Pittman Jr. and Aaron Rodgers to take the lead in the final moments. 99 clutch Aaron Rodgers shows up again. The kick is away from Boswell. It's going to be fielded at around the 4. Shifts to around the right. He's not even going to get to the 25. He gets to the 22. Not a good return from Jacksonville. That is where Trevor Lawrence will lead the troops back out. 23 seconds, all 3 timeouts. Probably got to get it like somewhere around the 50 to even think about it, Cully.
Maybe
the 45. Cam Little's got an absolute cannon for a leg.
He does.
Here we go. Spread formation. 2-by-2. Shotgun for Lawrence. He will take the snap. He's looking. Steps up. Good pocket. Just going to dump it off to his running back. I think it was Chris Rodriguez Jr.
No, that was LaQuinn Allen.
Oh, that was LaQuinn Allen. Okay. And are they just going to let this just run out on them? Yep, Ponzi didn't increase the IQ again. I mean, hey, it works out in our favor. And that's going to be the game.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh Steelers win in Week 14, getting the monkey off their back here of 2 straight losses as they improve to 9-4 as they get ready for Baltimore Ravens next week. And we will have that stream on Wednesday. Be a lot of fun, man. Baltimore and Pittsburgh are tied at 9-4 at the top of the division with just a few weeks left to go. I mean, deja vu, man. It's like this all over again, where they're tied at the top of the division when they still have both their games left to go late in the season. Hopefully this year it works out the way it did last year, and the Steelers can sweep them and get into the playoffs and all that great stuff. So appreciate you guys stopping by with me and Captain Cully here today. We'll be back on Wednesday. Ponzi, I believe, will be back on Wednesday in the producer chair. We're going to have another great slate of Steelers coverage for you guys right here on Steelers Talk. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. And until then, guys, here we go, Steelers.